what you got going on. Like if you had baseball tonight, probably don't have it with the rain, so that might be great for you. You're like, oh my God, my kid's got a baseball game tonight. Got to deal with that. Oh, rain. All right, pray for rain. Got it. Kevin Costner, I can get you a rain out. You want a rain out? You need a rain out. I can get us a rain out if we want a day off. That's nice, but sometimes you may have some other things going on. You're like, well, I got to catch up on DVR. And you can just fast forward there. You know, maybe start it at like 9:30. If you started at 9:30 and just fast forward through the picks, you don't invest as much time. You know? There are times when it's not the worst thing in the world where I'm catching up on a football game. Or baseball's much more difficult to catch up with now. I will say that. Baseball used to be one of the easiest to catch up with. Because you can just press the 10-second forward right and just keep doing it because you knew, and especially when I had DirecTV, so you could do that and then press play and it would always go back like 5 seconds. So if you saw the pitcher getting ready to pitch, boom, press play. But now there's no reason to do that because the pitch clock's, 15 seconds or whatever. So there's really the only catching up is on a foul ball, but then you're catching up like 10 seconds. So it is more difficult. I will say that. For the last year, it has been way more difficult to catch up on baseball to get it to where you're watching at the end. But, watching live. Tex says, you also get 4 notifications for every pick. You really do, man.
Yeah, isn't this the season where people leak the pick before it happens as well?
Yes. Yeah, everybody's got. I mean, we are typically 2 picks deep into the leaks by the time like pick 6 is already being discussed as this team is taking this pick at pick 6 and pick number 4 is still on the clock.
Right.
It's like,
so if your interest is to get to bed early, you can just scroll through Twitter as well.
That's right, man. Oh, that's absolutely right. 913-912-4810. It is a great idea. If there was a way that you could do that, yes, it would be nice if the NFL did that. Here's a question that I have. We talk about, Brett Veach and the job that he's done and typically does about eliminating any glaring needs that may be there for a team, that you don't go into the draft and think that you have to take this specific player or position unless you're sitting at quarterback, right? But even when they took Patrick Mahomes, it wasn't a glaring need at quarterback. Like, they traded up and people were still wondering if they were trading up to get a defensive player and who the quarterback might be when they traded up, because they didn't have a glaring need. It wasn't like the Chicago Bears or the Raiders or, Broncos or other teams that are talking about, Commanders that are talking about getting a quarterback in the draft this year. There wasn't that glaring need. They had Alex Smith. So even that year when they made that huge move that was franchise-altering, NFL league-altering move to go get Patrick Mahomes, it wasn't a need to where you have to take a quarterback, do whatever it takes, Vontae Mack no matter what, this player or position no matter what. Brett Veach has done a pretty good job of that in his time with the Chiefs as being a GM. And one of the times where we saw that maybe a couple of times that's happened where it might have been a miss or a reach. Breland speaks. It was, we got to get a defensive end. We have to have this defense. We got to have somebody. Okay, let's trade up and get Breland speaks because we have to have this guy. McCole Hardman. We don't know what's going to go on with Tyreek Hill. Have to have this guy. Got to trade up. DK Metcalf. Maybe there was some of the Tyreek Hill. Maybe not. I mean, Brett Veach talked about that. We played that clip on Monday with the Kevin Hart podcast when he said that, the red flags or the things that were there with DK Metcalf as the pick that he looks back and says that, he'd like to have back, or at least a player that you quote unquote miss or stays with you that, you didn't draft and you could have drafted. In that, there were some things there, but as he said, it wasn't, looking back, it wasn't enough that should have prompted them to not take DK Metcalf. But like the glaring needs on this team, is this actually and truthfully a draft where there aren't any glaring needs? I want to play this clip. This is clip 10 from Monday's show from the Veach press conference, but it's clip number 10. And obviously you'll know where I'm going with this clip if we're talking about glaring needs or a hole or something that the Chiefs feel like they are going to attack or have to attack in this draft. But here's Brett Veach talking about Wanya Morris. So there's a difference between saying we are definitely going to grab somebody and we are going to look to bring in competition. You know, that job is not yours. It is not given to you because you're the, I guess would be considered the incumbent. You're the man that played left tackle last year at any time, and you're on this roster still. So you would be, by process of elimination, the incumbent at left tackle. But it is not your job given. It is your job to earn, and we will be looking to bring in competition. That doesn't mean looking to bring in competition in the first round or looking to bring in competition as a free agent after the draft is over, or specifically looking just to bring in competition in the middle of the draft, because if you trade up and get somebody to play left tackle, that's not bringing in competition. That's bringing in your left tackle. Unless Wanya Morris is just so amazing, and then you trade up for a guy and he doesn't play left tackle, well, then we're having a different conversation. Then we're having a bad. If you thought Wanya Morris could be that good, then there was no reason to waste resources and move up and grab a guy that wouldn't even be playing for you. Okay, so grabbing somebody in the first round is not bringing in competition. It's bringing in a starting left tackle. Excuse me, trading up to get somebody. Drafting somebody at 32, let's say Kingsley Suamataia, you draft him, yeah, that's bringing in competition. You would want Kingsley to win the job eventually, but it is a longer-term play. It's a bigger picture view of this team in 25 and 26 and 27. I've always said there is no such thing as a luxury pick. My biggest issue with Clyde Edwards-Helaire's selection in the first round of 2020 was that it was viewed as like, well, the Chiefs have everything taken care of. They can go anywhere they want. They've got a luxury pick. They could even go running back in the first round. Well, there's no such thing as a luxury pick. Because whether you draft for need or best available, what your needs are right now may not be your needs next year. And you might think you are packed at a position, and then halfway through the season, or you get into the offseason, you're like, wow, boy, wish we would have taken that spot. Wish we would have taken this guy. Wish we'd have taken, instead of Edwards-Helaire, a wide receiver or a cornerback or something along those lines. But they took a running back. It was a luxury pick. No such thing in the NFL. So, glaring needs or something
didn't they let someone make that pick?
I don't truly believe that it was Patrick Mahomes that picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
It was a luxury pick, so.
Yeah, I don't really believe that, because if that was the case.
I don't either. They gave him.
They're like, hey, who do you want? And it's like,
they gave him two choices.
Clyde.
Too.
He's like,
oh, he could take the punter and the Corey Taylor.
Patrick, your choice. Would you rather us draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire or a mass murderer who's actually incarcerated for the next 40 years and will not play a down for this team? I guess Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All right, guys, Patrick Mahomes wants Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Should we take him? All right, let's take Clyde and make sure everybody knows that when we get to this press conference, Patrick Mahomes wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire too. So if he isn't any good and the whole, you can't draft a running back in the first round, you want to tell that to Patrick Mahomes? All right, that guy's got a ring on his finger. That guy put a ring on everybody's finger around here. He wanted Clyde. I've got the text right here that says Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CEH. Now, I erased the text I sent him about the mass murderer who's incarcerated for 50 years and will never play in the NFL, and I asked him to erase that one that he received as well. And we've worked with the government to scrub those as well if anybody wants to, grab those call logs. But he wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's a random choice. It's really, really odd that those would be the two choices for the Chiefs at first round. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or a mass murderer who's never actually going to play in the NFL because he's incarcerated for the next 50 years. And if everybody else got that same choice, they would have taken Clyde Edwards-Helaire too. So I don't know what everybody's bitching about. Why is everybody complaining about the Chiefs taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire? You could have had the mass murderer. You don't want that guy. Spend the rest of his time in prison. He's not going to help you. He's never going to play for you. At least Clyde Edwards-Helaire played. He got a couple rings.
Had some bad interviews.
The red
Didn't
flags.
do well in Indianapolis.
The off-the-field issues were not good.
Yeah,
He didn't even
not
show
good.
up to the combine.
Right.
He has skipped everything, and it's kind of a hassle to have those interviews with him because the whole signing in and then visiting hours.
Well, Zoom helps.
It's a little more difficult. You get 1 hour a day that he's actually allowed out of. So planning becomes a little bit of an issue there. And you feel like with only 1 hour a day, development won't be great for him. So then socially he'll be lacking because he doesn't have a lot of communication with other people. So that's going to be an issue too. But everybody would have taken Clyde in that one. But do the Chiefs have like a glaring need? Because right now, maybe you don't call it glaring, but they clearly have a need at tackle. They clearly have a need at left tackle. Now, I've felt for a long time you fill your bigger needs through free agency and you draft for the long term of your team with the best player you can and the board and all of that stuff in the draft. So if you've got a huge need at this spot, then go grab a free agent. It doesn't have to be a high level. You don't have to go and pay $100 million to that free agent. But Donovan Smith is out there. Donovan Smith has been talked about as like, well, they can just go if something doesn't work out in the draft. Maybe you draft Kingsley. Maybe you draft somebody else in the second round. And then you bring Donovan Smith in. And then you let that second round tackle sort of develop. Wanya Morris develops too and let the best man win. And then if Jawan Taylor is struggling in a couple of years, you can move on from him. And then you've got two tackles that have been drafted. And you've got those guys that still would be cheaper, etc. But we thought that about Melvin Ingram a couple of years ago. That, well, Melvin Ingram's out there. They're going to sign Melvin Ingram. Let's just go ahead and count. Like, we're going through our defensive line roster here. Let's just look through here. And here's the edge. Here's the tackle. Melvin Ingram is still a free agent. But I'm going to write Melvin Ingram in because they're going to sign Melvin Ingram. He's just waiting around. He doesn't want to go through all the OTAs. He's a veteran. It's sort of understood that there's this communication between the two. And Melvin Ingram's going to sign with the Chiefs until he did not. Until he signed with the Dolphins. And then Frank Clark was brought back. And it's like, well, that's not exactly the way that we were thinking it would go. So it's easy to look at it and go, well, Donovan Smith is just going to be signed on Tuesday. Or is it Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever the free agent formula stops counting for next year. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday. So whenever that happens, hey, you can just go and sign Donovan Smith. I don't think it's as easy as that because we thought the same thing about Melvin Ingram and he chose the Miami Dolphins. And if Donovan Smith is getting more money somewhere else, he's got a couple of rings already. And maybe he's going to get 2 years somewhere rather than just a 1-year deal with the Chiefs and then be in the same position next year. I'm not sure. But I do think there's way more of a need at tackle than really any other position. Because wide receiver, they did sign Hollywood Brown. I know there's expected suspension for Rashee Rice. But if your worst-case scenario is that the first 4 games of the season, your 2 main targets are Travis Kelce and Hollywood Brown, there are worse things in the world. Because your 2 main targets last year were Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice, a rookie. So at least you have an answer there. And like I've said before, you got multiple wide receivers on the field. You got 1 left tackle. You established and drafted that guy. You've got that position filled up. You draft a wide receiver. You still don't have the position filled up in terms of the room. Maybe you got the X receiver, but he ain't playing 100% of the snaps. Your left tackle better. So I think there's more of a need at left tackle than is being talked about. I would also rather them draft whatever they think is the best at 32. And if there is a cornerback that should be gone by the 20s or by 20 or 21 like McDuffie, I'm not saying trade up. But if he's there at 32, and it's like, well, we got this wide receiver that we feel like is down here. We got this tackle that's down here. But, man, we got this guy on our board, and then there's like a 5-player gap between him and everybody else. I'm going with this guy. I'm not saying that'd be a linebacker. But if it's, say, cornerback or defensive line, then I'm not, thrown off or mad or upset that the Chiefs go that route when most of the eyes around the area, most of them, not all of them, but most of the eyes around the area have been on tackle and wide receiver. Understandably so. There have been others that have gone off board and said defensive line or cornerback or safety or something like that. And we'll see what they end up doing. 913-912-4810. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We will talk with Kent Swanson coming up at 11 o'clock. We will also get into some more Chiefs draft discussions. We'll also go through our top 3 draft picks since Patrick Mahomes and rank those coming up in the noon hour. Sports or leisure at 1 o'clock. More Zone next. grouping of the first and second round picks, even though we could throw in first, second, and third round, but being second and third on Friday night. But we'll go through like the best grouping of first and second round picks. We'll also pick our best draft picks since Patrick Mahomes, our top 3 draft picks by the Chiefs since they had the landscape NFL tectonic plate shifting draft pick of Patrick Mahomes. Ken Swanson next.
Family since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, in the spirit of football, I'm calling an audible right now. Dylan, first of all, well done. Second, the rest of the show, all of the music coming back from break is going to be the NFL films. Different music. Deal?
Here. I agree. I'm sorry that I took too long to do it already.
You're fine. Just learn from it. Let's learn from our mistakes.
Get better.
Just
That's
as
what the draft's
as long as you never do it again. Like literally ever do it again.
All
You
right.
can't repeat the same mistake.
I'll staple it to my forehead here.
Thank you very much. It's like Kent Swanson. He's made mistakes, but not the same one
Doesn't
twice.
repeat them, yes.
No, not at all.
Coachable.
Yeah, he skipped Costco one time. Last time he's ever done that. The man is coachable.
I don't even believe that.
That's probably true. Kent Swanson is our guest. KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
First off, never doubt my Costco consistency.
I know.
I did.
Second off, walking into that music was just a delight. So, that was why. Can we do that whenever I come on the show, please? 'Cause
Yes.
I'd sign up for it.
That's the Kent Swanson new intro music. Let's go ahead and label that for Kent Swanson just so people know.
It's the right mood. It's just the right mood to enter a conversation about football.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And I actually play this song as I'm getting ready to enter Costco. So it's the same thing. I'm getting ready to take on this. Here we go. My team is taking the field right now. Let's go, honey. Kids, over there. Everett, that way. Jules, you're heading over to the fruit. Honey, you're going and grabbing that. I'm going to the outdoors. Meet back in 10 minutes. Go.
All that in John Facenda's voice. Then you got it.
Yes. I can't even do it. I don't even want to try because Curtis does such a great job. I would just embarrass myself trying to even attempt to do the John Facenda breaking up and splitting up our responsibilities at Costco.
I just learned he does a John Facenda impression, so I will have to.
Oh, he does a great one.
I'm going to have to hear that now.
He does a great one. Turns out, Curtis, good impressions, especially with guys with deep voices. It's a surprise.
I can see that, yes.
It's a surprise. I know that. All right, Ken, I know how I'm feeling. That got me in the mood. I think you kind of gave us a little bit of an idea, though. But how you feeling as we're getting closer and closer, about, 8 hours away from this thing starting to get rolling. And I don't know, about 12 hours away from maybe when the Chiefs select somebody.
Oh, only 12. Only 12. I'm getting there. I'm getting excited. Just starting to flow a little bit. Obviously, this is if you cover the draft intensely like we do at KC Sports Network, this is obviously a big week. I'm going to be doing live shows the entirety of the draft. We're going to be on live for every single pick. So I think there's a little bit of, anxiousness, excitement, but also I know we're about to do 16 hours of live shows. So I think there's both nervousness, excitement, and also I know what's coming too. So I'm trying to keep the energy down as best I can.
Yeah, and I appreciate you wasting about 20, 25 minutes of your energy, your voice, your brain power, all of the neurons that can be firing that you'll definitely need later on today. I appreciate you doing that with us here because I know what's ahead of you with the draft and everything. And constantly, the thing about the draft and why I love sitting back and watching it, and I don't envy those that are doing live shows like yourself, like right here on Sports Radio 810 with Seren and Curtis and Mark Boerichter, which, by the way, Seren and Curtis starting at 2 o'clock, and they'll get done at midnight. I don't envy that at all. So they do fantastic work, and on the pregame show as well, because there's so much to follow on Twitter and everything. There's so many different moving parts constantly, and, well, this may happen or that may happen. And also, Kent, Dylan and I were talking about it, that oftentimes there's so much that's released on Twitter that sometimes we'll be told what the pick is at pick number 6 and number 4 still on the clock.
Yeah, it turns into a moment, turns into a little bit of chaos. We wind up we're not, we tip picks when we do our stuff. We just kind of let it roll because it's hard to keep track of exactly everything. But it's a lot, man. I think, if you're a fan of a team, there's also all those emotions that continue to build around it too. So it's there's just, it's tough to navigate.
Yeah, visiting with Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com. Where and what do you want to see them do tonight? Where is in do they trade up, trade back? If you're, feeling right now, do you have a scenario that you would prefer out of trading up, trading back, picking at that particular spot at 32?
I think the one I like the most is just sitting at pick 32 and drafting Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver out of Georgia.
I wouldn't hate that.
I think I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the chaos that I feel like is about to ensue, and you see a lot of conversations going around. The trade ups for the tackles. A lot of people anticipate there's going to be a lot of tackles flying off the board early. We think if that's the case, that's going to be really difficult for the Chiefs to trade up to get one. So trading back, you're probably not going to be able to secure a tackle either. That doesn't seem great. I don't know if there's going to be a ton of great tackle options available for them in round 2 either. So I'd rather just go take a solid double and get a super reliable player that I know is going to be a good NFL player and could potentially be a 1,000-yard receiver with Patrick Mahomes throwing in the football and Ladd McConkey. I think he helps provide a lot of reliability and consistency for this team that could be really beneficial to them in this offense. Just another security blanket, especially as Travis Kelce ages. I would love to see Ladd McConkey be the pick at 32 for the Chiefs.
If it's an interesting way of describing it and saying a solid double, because another way of viewing it would be them trading up and pushing their chips in and drafting somebody in the middle, teens, and getting a tackle or something like that. That would be going for the home run. If you're looking at this team, and every scenario is going to be different, but I've wavered. On Tuesday, I was pretty strong in my conviction of there's nobody in this draft that I feel like is valuable enough to move up to like pick 15 or 16. Then doing the math and looking at the draft picks and who may be there, because we went through that exercise yesterday, and I'm going to tell you the different trade scenarios that we had yesterday and, who was on the clock and everything. But if you're looking at this team, is it the sound strategy moving forward of just as long as Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are there, that solid doubles, as opposed to strikeout or home run, and I'm talking first round only, because solid doubles in the 4th or 5th round is badass. Yes, keep doing that. But in the first round, just, we're getting a solid double here that we know we're going to get 4/5 years. Maybe gets a second contract, maybe not. But, we know he's going to be a contributor for 4 years and not a liability.
I think that's largely an approach that they've tried to take, right? I try to extend that to the second round because Brett Veach hasn't had a ton of first-round picks to make in the first place.
True.
But they've done a really good job of, they don't care about positional value all the time when they're making their picks in the second round, and it's rewarded them because they've hit really sound, solid players at center, at linebacker in the second round. Safety, they've done a good job. It doesn't matter what the positional value is. Let's just go continue to stack quality players on this roster. And I can hear that argument, and I like that argument of just continuing to build solid players around Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't mean I'm all the way out on a trade-up necessarily either, though, because the Chiefs have a little bit of extra draft capital at their disposal because of the L'Jarius Sneed trade. Mm-hmm. So they have some future capital that they might be able to dip into. Like if you told me the Chiefs wanted to get a little weird today, throw their first-round pick into the mix from 2025 in an attempt to move up, you still got, I think the argument we'll hear when Brett Veach talks about it afterwards would be, hey, look, we've still got 3 picks in the top 100 next year and hope the Titans suck, right? So I think, I still think that there's enough capital there that they might be able to do something just a little spicy. And if they want to just, finally set and forget the left tackle position, which they've been scrambling, it feels like, the last 3-4 years to try to address since Eric Fisher, tore his Achilles. They haven't really recovered from that. And, they've kind of had to be aggressive for Orlando Brown and maybe overpay for him a little bit. And then they tried to, they wanted to tackle. They wound up getting, Donovan Smith. So if they go and just say, hey, look, we're about to have some changes on the offensive line here in the next couple of years. Let's just go up and secure, the left side of Patrick Mahomes for the foreseeable future. I'm going to understand why they did that.
Visiting with Kent Swanson, kcsn.substack.com. Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I was going to go next. So what we did yesterday, we did it live on the air. We had a blast doing it. I don't know if anybody else did, but I know Sterling and I and Dylan, we were having fun doing this. So what we did is, we did the mock draft simulator at PFF, and I chose pick number 16 because 15 is the Colts, and I don't know that the Colts are willing or wanting to move all the way back to 32 when they feel like they've got a team, and with a healthy Anthony Richardson, they can go and win the division. So do they want to draft somebody else at 15 that can go and be a difference maker for them, especially if there's like one of those 3 wide receivers for whatever reason might still be there. So I chose pick 16 because that being the Seahawks, and they do seem like a team that might be looking to acquire picks if no quarterback. So at pick 16, this was the scenario that was presented to us. And this was the trade that was accepted when we did this. Pick 16, we gave up pick 32, obviously. But then this year's third, L'Jarius Sneed's third, and a 5th rounder this year to go get Olu Fashanu, who was still there. Dylan and I both said yes to that. And that's where I'm saying like I wavered, because on Tuesday I'm like, I don't know that there's somebody available or really as valuable in this draft when you've got Patrick Mahomes to go and take 3 other guys that wouldn't be on your team to move up and take that guy. But that's also not really thinking Fashanu would be there. Is that something you'd be in favor of when they'd still have 5 more picks in the draft this year? They'd have a 2nd, a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th. They'd still have those 5 more picks to go. Would that be something you lose a 3rd rounder this year, L'Jarius Sneed's 3rd rounder, and a 5th rounder, but you get what I believe is the 2nd best tackle in the NFL draft?
In a heartbeat.
Okay.
That is a super easy yes move for me right there. Like that's a fantastic trade, I think, from a capital perspective. I actually would anticipate it costs a little bit more.
I would too.
When we get down to draft day.
I would too.
The draft math might say, you need to give a little bit more to do that. So if you're going to give me that scenario, I do that. And honestly, like, if you tie a specific player to it, that makes it even easier for me. And when it's Olu Fashanu, who is an exceptional plug-and-play, excellent pass protector from day one, I love the idea of that, as far as, like, that's not a scenario I'm going to be upset with if that happens tonight. And, hey, look, then we get to talk about a pick in 9 hours instead of 11. So that's even better.
The next scenario that was presented to us, so if we turned that down and just let the draft go, at pick number 22, the Eagles were on the clock, and Brian Thomas was still there. So A.D. Mitchell went before him. Brian Thomas was still there. It would cost, according to the trade that eventually was accepted by the Eagles, was the 3rd rounder for Sneed and a 5th rounder this year to move up to 22 to specifically get Brian Thomas. Like, we were looking at players connected with the picks because that, it's like, would you trade up to 22? Well, who's there? Well, I don't know. Just would you do that? Well, I don't know who's there, so no. But is Brian Thomas maybe worth it when still on the board was, Guyton and Kingsley and Ladd McConkey and Xavier Worthy, and there were a number of other picks. Would it be worth it to keep that 3rd rounder in the pocket of next year so then maybe you'd still have an arsenal in the 2nd round to go and move around? Or is Brian Thomas worth it to you if that was available to them to move up 10 spots and grab him?
I think I'd do that.
Okay.
I know I'm sitting here saying, I'll just sit here and take Ladd McConkey, but
these scenarios are different.
Yeah, well, the scenarios that you give me, like,
yeah.
I like them. I like what you're throwing down here, and like, I don't think the capital is just too exorbitant to say like I wouldn't move out of it, right? So, when you tie a specific player like a Brian Thomas Jr., there's some talk that maybe the medicals might see him drop just a little bit, and if that's the case, and if the Chiefs feel comfortable with the medicals, 22 is a very enticing range for a player that. Sometimes we just need to not overthink it. He had 17 touchdowns in the SEC last year.
Yeah.
And maybe he isn't on the same tier as that top 3, but there's a lot to like about him. And I'd be in on a scenario like that as well.
Next scenario for you was pick number 27. So Brian Thomas went 22nd. So we then declined the trade, and Brian Thomas was immediately picked by the Eagles. So maybe they wouldn't want the trade anyway if they felt like, wow, I can't believe Brian Thomas is here. And by the way, Fashanu went 16th when we turned that down too. So it was like that was sort of the floor for those guys, right? At pick 27, right in front of the Buffalo Bills. So that adds a little tinge of excitement there. But right in front of the Buffalo Bills, A.D. Mitchell was still on the board, and it would take next year's 3rd rounder, L'Jarius Sneed, but we got a 4th back this year. So we moved up 5 spots, and we turned next year's 3rd rounder into a 4th rounder this year, and we jumped ahead of the Bills and got A.D. Mitchell. Are you okay with that, or is he worth it moving up 5 spots and maybe staying there and keeping next year's third to then move around in the second round and taking Ladd McConkey, who was there at 32 when we turned this trade down?
So when it comes to A.D. Mitchell specifically, because we're attaching specific players to it,
players.
I don't love A.D. Mitchell as much as I like some of the other guys that we've talked about at this point.
Cool.
And I am at least nervous enough about some of the off-field stuff. And this was before the Bob McGinn, the Bob McGinn article comes out about the diabetes stuff, which, like we can talk about some of that at some point. But I worry a little bit about the off-field. I worry a little bit about the effort. I worry a little bit about how 2 coaching staffs perceived him in his time in college football. The tape's tantalizing. He's got the talent to be one of the best receivers in this draft class. It's just a matter of consistency. It's a matter of consistent effort. And you got to have some questions about whether or not he's going to be as consistent off the field. So, if the Chiefs do it, I'll get it because it's a swing on talent, but they've also probably done a lot of work to vet him and make sure that they feel comfortable with him as a person, because this wide receiver room isn't exactly the most stable thing from a character perspective anyway when it comes to the Kadarius Toney situations and it comes to what we're experiencing with Rashee Rice. So it's a very bold swing to take a guy like that.
Yeah. Kent Swanson is our guest, kcsn.substack.com. What we ended up doing was saying our 2 favorite scenarios ended up being staying at 32 or trading up for Fashanu. With the cost acquisition. So myself and Sterling and Dylan sort of went that route. Sterling said no to Fashanu because he hates players that are good. So that was an interesting. He just said the price was too much. He wanted more of the dart throws, which I get. I understand if your strategy is, and I'm typically a trade back guy, but that's also part of me thinking that Fashanu should not be there at 16, and he's going to be snatched up pretty quickly by somebody. But interesting enough, we all 3 agreed at 32. We ended up going tackle, all 3 of us. Sterling went Tyler Guyton, and then Dylan and I went Kingsley Suamataia. That was there. You would go Ladd McConkey in that scenario. As we look at what sort of packaging 2 players together, Brett Veach said the tackles sort of 35 to 40. After that, there's a pretty steep drop-off at 35 to 40, whereas wide receivers, top 50, but then there's another pocket of wide receivers that sort of a grade. Is it more advantageous to take what would be a higher-level tackle and then still get a good enough receiver in the second round, or a higher-level receiver and then tackle would be way more of a project at that point, unless there's somebody that you really, really like and say, no, I don't think this guy would be a project in the second round. If Patrick Paul's there or something like that, then it wouldn't be more of a project. In that scenario of sort of weighing those options of the way that Brett Veach presented it, what's a better package to you, the lesser tackle in the second round and the better wide receiver, or sort of a lesser version of both, but maybe the overall numbers 1 through 10 sort of add up to a higher degree? If that makes any sense whatsoever.
No, I get it. I think the best case scenario for this team is that there is a tackle that they feel comfortable with taking in we'll call it a small trade up that doesn't require pick 64. I think that's probably the ideal scenario for them. They're able to move up slightly. So one of those top tackles falls to them. I think it's just a matter of how you view this tackle class, right? I'm not enamored with Tyler Guyton. I like the idea of Kingsley Suamataia, but there's a lot of risk to him. He's one of the youngest players in this class, but he's got some work to do, right?
Yes.
Patrick Paul, I think, makes some sense, but I think he makes sense a little bit farther back in our scenario. We did a mock draft scenario. We traded back and took him. So
nice.
I think the best case scenario for them is that they are in a decent position where they don't have to mortgage the future to get a capable tackle that can play year 1 and allow them to dip into that pool of receivers in round 2. I do agree with that strategy philosophy. That is the best scenario for them. I do feel like they're going to have to they might have to pigeonhole themselves a little bit to make that kind of plan happen, but it's probably the best path for them as far as being able to get somebody that can contribute at tackle well enough while still being able to take advantage of receiver. And so, like, if they I think they'll probably use. I think my theory is I think they're going to use 3 or they're going to make 2 picks in the top 100.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
I think they're going to take. I think they'll either use 95 to move up in the first round, small, to get a receiver or get a tackle, or I think they'll sit at tackle and take Kingsley Suamataia, and then they're going to draft. They're going to use 64 and 95 to move up and go get a receiver. Like if you told me it's Kingsley Suamataia and Jalen Polk in a small trade up in round 2, I'm going to understand that. And don't get me wrong, like I have I love Ladd McConkey, but there's a lot of scenarios I'd be pleased with.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Jalen Polk. Two things I wanted to bring up with Jalen Polk and a connection with having you on in the the KC Sports Network draft guide, which is a fantastic resource. If you haven't got it, well, that's your loss. I've done in the last few years the looking at all pro receivers, and if there's some sort of a correlation with what they did in college. There are different types and speed and length and things like that there's not really a rhyme or reason of, well, you have to be at least this or at least that to be an all-pro wide receiver. There's shorter guys, there's taller guys, there's faster guys, there's better route runners, there's this, there's that. But, 6 things in college and different, markers that they had to meet to do that. And last year, there were 5 receivers that met all of those markers in the top 20. I took the top 20 consensus players and then looked at their college. The 5 players last year that met that mark were Jordan Addison, Josh Downs, A.T. Perry, Tank Dell, and Rashee Rice. And obviously, they weren't all first-round draft picks. Zay Flowers, JSN, Quentin Johnston didn't meet that, Jalen Hyatt, etc. This year, there are 6 receivers: Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze. And the other 3 are, and it doesn't mean that they're going to be that. It's just this is what sort of the profile has been for guys that have turned in to be all-pro receivers: Malachi Corley, Troy Franklin, and Jalen Polk. All 3 of those guys may be, generic in the NFL. But you mentioned Jalen Polk, and Jalen Polk pops up there, and he's also one of your guys in the draft guide. Not necessarily meaning, hey, take him in the first round. He's my guy. You got to do whatever you got to do to get him. You guys have him graded as a second rounder. What is it about Jalen Polk that's your guy that you like for how he fits with the Chiefs?
So, yeah, he's one of my favorite players in this class. And when it's kind of funny because I was, this whole process starts before the Super Bowl even happens, right?
Right.
So, like, we're digging in April when we're writing this 300-page book that we do every year. And as was all of us in Kansas City, like, I feel like we all know receiver was a problem, but I think we've forgotten a little bit of the frustration that we experienced during the season because the Chiefs wound up winning the Super Bowl anyway, right? And so, watching this wide receiver group struggle with, being consistent and reliable, working back to the quarterback, running good routes, presenting a good target to the quarterback. Those kind of things have been lost on us because the Chiefs wound up winning the Super Bowl. It didn't wind up coming back to bite them. And when I talk about guys like Ladd McConkey and I talk about Jalen Polk, those guys are different players and different stylistic players, but I think they both do a fantastic job of giving the quarterback a clear, concise target to throw to. They're really good and they're precise with their routes. They're consistently working back to the football. And then with Polk, it's like, he's got some ability to win at the catch point. He's got a big catch radius. He does the dirty work as a blocker. He's not the most dynamic guy. He's not someone that's going to be a huge asset after the catch. But I like his ability to just be a consistent, reliable target. He was very well coached at Washington. And if you're talking about a guy that I think Patrick Mahomes could make better, that's the kind of guy I'm looking at. Him and McConkey, both similar in how I view them for what they could give the offense, even though they'll be doing it differently, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I should throw in there was another receiver that hit 5 of the 6 categories. 2 other receivers that hit 5 of the 6 categories, but didn't get all 6, but 5 of the 6. It was Xavier Worthy and Malik Washington from Virginia. And I know Malik Washington is another one of your guys that would be like a fourth rounder. So I thought that was interesting. A couple of players there that, showed up that aren't first rounders or expected to be first rounders. And Malik Washington, a day 2 or early day 3 if he gets to day 3, but certainly a day 2 type of guy that, if they were to have 3 selections and somehow they don't go wide receiver in the first or second round, if your consolation prize is, pick number 92 is Malik Washington, I'm not driving to one Arrowhead Drive to pick it, outside the doors of Brett Veach.
And I think we're talking about all these players, and there's so many good players, right?
Yeah.
There's so many, but we're talking about so many different guys that are different too at the same time. And I think that's what's so interesting is we have all these visions of what we think, we want the Chiefs to include into their offense and these different styles of players. But what the Chiefs do in the draft is going to tell us what they really want. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's always something quite interesting too about all this is like, we're slowly learning and trying to figure out like, okay, what kind of player does this team really want to introduce into their wide receiver room? Like, we feel good that they're going to be able to, make any of them work. But what they ultimately like stylistically decide on is that, oh, we need vertical stretch. Oh, we need a chain mover. We need a guy that can work in the middle of the field. We're going to find out those answers, and I think that's also kind of interesting too.
All right, last one for you, Kent. You spent so much of your time today with us, and I know you've got a lot to do. What happens tonight? They pick before or after or at 32, and who do they take? Not necessarily your preference, but who? What's your prediction of who they take?
It's a great question, and like I keep going back and forth.
I have to.
I think Brett Veach is going to try. I think he's. I liked the Amarius Mims idea the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That we saw presented. I kind of have a feeling that the Chiefs are going to get shut out trying to trade up. So I think they're going to draft. If I'm guessing tonight, I'm going to guess Kingsley Suamataia is the 32nd pick in this draft. He's a really fascinating kid, as a really young prospect. He's played right tackle. He's played left tackle. That's something this team probably is going to value a little bit, especially early on here in the process. I don't know if that precludes you from, signing Donovan Smith still, but I think it's Kingsley Suamataia at pick 32 they stick and pick. I do think that they try to move up and they ultimately aren't able to. So they just decide to, hey, let's get a tackle now, and let's go be aggressive to grab a receiver on day 2 of the draft.
Interesting. Ken Swanson, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com, the KC Laboratory Podcast. All right, Kent, get some rest and get ready for later on today and tonight. Appreciate the time as always, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to play NFL music the rest of the day.
We are going to do that, man. Let's all do it together. There is Kent Swanson. He's the man. He only has 2 more trips to Costco today before he really starts honing in and getting ready for the draft coming up tonight. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone right after this. And at WHB, a little NFL draft special. Soren Petro, Curtis Seabolt, Mark Bo-Richter. Coming up tonight, starting at 6 o'clock. Let's be honest, starting at 2 o'clock for them and continuing now until starting at 6 o'clock this morning. Sprinkled in some baseball segments. I think 1 or 2 maybe total for the Border Patrol and 1 for us. And just simply some football along the way the rest of the day until we get to the draft tonight. And then, of course, all conversations tomorrow about the NFL draft and whatever happens tonight. It is presented right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB by Hollywood Casino, Greenlight Dispensary, and Twin Peaks. Sterling Holmes, it's your birthday, so now you're celebrating somewhere for your birthday. So happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday.
You were with us in the first hour here in studio, but we decided, one, we didn't want to be around you on your birthday. That seems mean, but it's fair. Tough, but fair. And instead, we had you go celebrate somewhere. Where are you at?
I'm at Hollywood Casino up here at Kansas Speedway, and it's electric. I'm watching baseball right now. I'm going to place some bets. I don't know what bets I'm going to place yet, but I'm going to place many a bet. If you think I'm not hitting the blackjack table, you are out of your gourd. And I wouldn't mind some advice on black or red. Let me know, black or red.
I'm gonna have to ask
I think of my birthday. I need a $30 for my 30th birthday. We're going to put it on black or red. I feel like that's a smart decision. There's no possible way it goes wrong.
I feel like you should ask your family member in the story we got on Monday of which black or red to play.
Oh yeah, come on, red.
Come on,
yeah,
red.
I got come on, old Uncle Greg. I'm going red today.
And the Chiefs are red.
And the Chiefs are red. I mean, all signs point red, but no, Hollywood Casino, we're back here at the sports book, and it is just phenomenal. It's a wall of TVs. There is a bar right here, which for sports or leisure, I think old boy's going to be hitting up. So get excited, right, Jason, for the 1 o'clock hour.
I'm always excited for the 1 o'clock hour because that's 1 hour away from hearing Soren.
We sent Sterling to a place that he would love on his birthday. It has gambling and bourbon.
What more
can we do?
It's a blackjack table. It's a wall of TVs. He can bet on games. He's got bourbon right there at his fingertips, and he gets to talk some sports.
Exactly.
I mean, that sounds like how many guys out there would that be a great middle of the day birthday? That, you know what, for your birthday, how about this? At 11 o'clock until 2. And maybe later, you can stay however late you want. I don't care. Turns out it's open even in the middle of the night if you want to do that. Good for you. But we're going to send you somewhere to where you can gamble. You can play some blackjack. You can bet on some games. You got a wall of TV. There's food there. Wall of TVs. There's food there. And you got some bourbon, some drinks right there at the bar. That sounds like a terrible birthday.
Yeah, it's I drive here, and I will be Ubering home unless Dylan wants to pick a guy up. Dylan, what do you think, pal?
The birthday present stops at sending you there. Now, the rest of the people in your life are they're going to be the ones that bring you back.
I feel like you got a fiance that may be able to help out there. I don't know. Maybe she's got something planned for the birthday.
She gets off work at 5, right? So
she was telling me there's going to be a limo that shows up. And, wait, I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, it's not going to even be a limo for me. Someone else is going to have a limo here, Dylan, and I'm just going to hop in. Okay. That's how I'm going to try. No, this is for me. Sir, this is not for you, clearly. I'm still going to try and force my way in.
And also, Sterling, I do apologize. We do have something going on tomorrow night, so I can't be at your surprise birthday party tomorrow night. So when I'm not there, wait. Oh, crap. Did I just give it away? Oh, that's embarrassing. I mean, I was trying to be nice to let you know beforehand I won't be there. So if you don't see me, it's not that I'm trying to skip it, but I guess that surprise thing escaped me. I'm sorry about that. But you know what? Act surprised. Nobody will know the difference, okay?
I mean, I will have already forgotten this conversation the second this segment ends. So, we'll be good.
Have you ever had a surprise birthday party in your life?
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's been good. I've had a couple. I had one for probably 4 years ago. Fiance set it up in the backyard of her house, and it was nice. Had a little party back there, a lot of fun. I actually was very surprised on that one. Then this past weekend, slight surprise. I knew we were doing something, didn't know what, and that was the whole laser tag.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely electric. I'm telling you what. Laser tag in your late 20s, early 30s is way more entertaining. The amount of rolling you'll do, the amount your legs will hurt the following day, it's phenomenal. It's the best workout I've done in at least 10 years.
Speaking of rolling, Greenlight Dispensary also sponsoring our NFL draft coverage here. on Sports Radio 810 WHB, along with Twin Peaks and Hollywood Casino, where you are there, Sterling. Any surprise birthday parties for you, Dylan, in your life?
I think one.
One? Okay.
One all time, and it was very early, and that was it.
Okay, so it was early in your life. They had a surprise birthday party
Actually,
at 8.
my parents had people park.
Surprise, we were going to do something for your birthday at 8.
Yeah, they actually, honestly, had my
6 a.m.
friends park at my buddy's house across the street.
Oh, that's funny.
Like they were all at my buddy's house, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're just hanging out here tonight. You know, I'm just gonna hang out here." So they really played it up. So my parents were pretty ruthless with that kind of stuff. They one time for Christmas, I wanted a TV, so they got the TV I wanted, but took it out of the box and put a couple of weights in it, and like a Matchbox car and other stuff. So when I opened it, it's not the TV. I opened the box, and it's just like a couple small items with a couple like 15-pound dumbbells in it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the humor that they have.
And you ended up being the dumbbell, thinking that you didn't have a TV.
There you go. Well played.
We typically give our kids the coupon book that you give to. We give our kids coupons for food. So
Jason, they're actually called Stupons.
Stupons, that's fine. Stupons for food. So would you like to eat today? Okay, use one of your coupons. Turns out, don't take that for granted anymore. You know?
Yeah.
So we're just teaching them a lesson. It's just life lessons, all it is. I've been on a couple of ends of the spectrum. I've gone the loser route and did absolutely nothing and sat by myself for a birthday when I turned 24. And the surprise birthday party when I turned 40, which I suspected a surprise birthday party was happening because what typically happens in your life when a birthday's coming up? Don't people typically ask you, what do you want to do for your birthday? Right? It's like, oh, what do you want to do? What are you thinking? You know, not necessarily, it's like what doesn't mean we have to do it, but typically they'll ask like, well, what are you thinking? Any plans? Or other people might reach out and like, hey, you guys going out for your birthday or anything? Other family members will do that, right? Something along those lines. Leading up to my 40th birthday, radio silent. Nobody reaching out. Nobody like, oh, family members are like, hey, what do you, Kayla, is Kaylin planning anything? What are you guys doing? Wife never asked, hey, what do you want to do for your birthday? Nothing like that. The only person that threw me off the scent was my mom that was like, hey, we're trying to figure out what you guys are doing this weekend for your birthday. So, and that was the only time I'm like, oh, well, maybe it isn't a surprise birthday party. Because my mom's actually...
Maybe just nobody...
Yeah, maybe just nobody cared. That was the only person that threw me off the scent was my mom actually thinking and going, well, we should ask him what he wants to do, because if nobody reaches out and was like, hey, what do you want to do for your 40th, then something's clearly up. Just saying, for planning a surprise party in the future, if you're doing that, make sure you have everybody reach out to be like, hey, what do you end up doing? Not at the same time, that would seem planned. But just at different times, what do you guys end up doing? Oh, yeah, cool, we'll meet you there. And then figure out, how to dump the water when they walk through the door another way. So
I have ripped 3 shots during the segment already. I'm feeling good, boys.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. My 24th birthday, when I sat by myself at night, was because the Royals traded Carlos Beltran that night. So I sat next to the radio, and I listened to Soren and Nate Bukaty break down the Carlos Beltran trade. They had Allard Baird on.
You weren't alone.
They had, that's exactly. You know what? I hung out with at that time my really good friends.
There you go.
My really good friends at that time. They didn't know.
They didn't know it. Yeah.
I was interning, so they knew me a little bit, but
you
they
hold
didn't know
up
me
3
that much.
fingers and say the gang's all here.
That's exactly right, yes. But one of my favorite all-time Royals was traded on my 24th birthday, June 24th, 2004. So when anybody goes, when was Beltran traded? June 24th, 2004. I know when Beltran was traded, okay? June 24th, 2004. And I sat there in my room listening to the radio and then trying to figure out, like, oh, yeah, Moneyball, Mark T. And we're going through all these different things, man. I'm a loser. It's okay.
But you're our loser.
That's
Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sterling Holmes is also our birthday boy today. He is at Hollywood Casino. Make sure you stop by there and go check out a lot of different things for your spring action. Playoff NBA hoops going on, playoff hockey going on, baseball going on, the NFL draft tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday. We stay up late tonight. We stay up late Friday, and then boom, Saturday. Let's roll. It's go time. We got draft all day long, man. So you can do that at Hollywood Casino, and you can rock some shots like apparently Sterling is doing, or not. I'm not sure. I'm not there to call him on that. Plus, it's his birthday, so he can cry if he wants to. It's his day. It's your day, buddy. What did you think of We talked with Kent Swanson, and he said in a heartbeat he would make that trade for Olu Fashanu. That makes it 3-1. You're the only one that says no.
Just groupthink, baby.
That's exactly what it is.
You guys are just set in your ways. It's the big media telling you what to think, and I'm just I'm the outlier, baby.
By the way,
okay?
Big media. I love that. Did you see Deion Sanders and his tweet, and then somebody's response to his tweet? So
no, I have not.
Deion Sanders was like, sick and tired of all the mainstream media that's acting like Michael Penix isn't that good of a quarterback, or he's not the best quarterback in this draft. He's got this, and this, and this, and people are ignoring him. And somebody replied and goes, "You mean the same mainstream media that keeps pumping up your team that only won one conference game?"
Bro.
It's like,
dude. It's awesome.
Woo, that was quite the receipt to quickly throw back at him. I'm sick and tired of all this media doing all this and doing all that. Same people that
Jason,
love your team.
Do you believe now? Do you believe now?
I do. I do believe.
Okay.
I do believe that Michael Penix is a damn fine quarterback. I do believe that. And I do believe if Olu Fashanu is there at pick number 16 and that trade is available, and I'm with Kent Swanson, and this is where, Sterling, it may ultimately end up being what you would have chosen as no, because while the simulator accepted that trade that we gave up to move up to 16, I also agree with Kent that I think it would be more expensive than that to move up to 16. And if it starts to get too rich, then yeah, I'm totally okay with holding your water and staying there. And the scenario that Kent presented, which was staying put at 32, drafting Kingsley Suamataia, and then using that third rounder from with L'Jarius Sneed and pick number 64 to go and make an aggressive move to get a wide receiver there in the second round that may not or should not have been there at like pick 45 or something like that. I'm totally okay if that's what they do. I'm okay if they trade back, which allows them maybe to get Kingsley or Tyler Guyton, as you talked about, or Paul from Houston or something along those lines, and then allowing them to be more aggressive with a wide receiver in the second round. I just feel like if you can get a 7 out of 10 wide receiver in the first round, but at 64 you get like a 3 out of 10 offensive tackle, well, then it's adding up to 10 total points. Whereas maybe you get like a 5 offensive tackle, and so it's better, and you get like a 6 wide receiver, so it's not as good, but it's still 11, right? It can go to 11 out of 10.
At least.
So I do think that might be the scenario I would go with, is if tackles are going to drop off, as Brett Veach at least said last Friday, that after 35 or 40, it's pretty tough picking there with the You're really getting some projects after 35 or 40.
Sure, but that's not 32, or that's not a slight
Agreed.
trade up at 27.
Agreed.
You're over here dealing in Bitcoin, baby. You're trying for the bust. I'm here in gold. I'm sticking at 32. I will take my slight appreciation. Okay, that's how I'm viewing this.
But that's what I sort of mean with taking like instead of a grade 3 out of 10 tackle at number 64, taking a 5 out of 10 tackle at pick number 32, and then taking maybe a slightly worse receiver than you would have taken in the first round, but those two adding up to be a combined better package, better players overall than what you would get if you went better wide receiver and then the tackles were simply gone in the late second round.
Sure, but it all depends on where you land on Wanya Morris. If I'm higher on Wanya
For sure.
Morris,
And
I
you
don't
are.
think that tackle is going to be quite as big of a deal. I've also said I'm content if Donovan Smith gets re-signed. I don't think any rookie tackle of the Chiefs draft is going to make this immediate impact this season. Will he be better than Wanya Morris? Maybe, but again, I've tried to perpetuate this, I think, true narrative that it takes a year at least for tackles, even great tackles, to really step into their own role. So you're almost still looking for a tackle to fill that role this year, but you're stuck because you spent pick 16 and you traded up for a guy, so now he has to play game 1, week 1. And in that instance, I don't know if that makes your team better this year. It does for the future, don't get me wrong, but for this year, I don't know.
Sterling Holmes is hanging out at Hollywood Casino, where you can hang out as well with the NFL Draft coming up tonight. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour. Coming up at noon, we're going to go through our top 3 draft picks for the Chiefs since Patrick Mahomes. We continue to roll along on this Draft Day edition of The Zone at Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Visit us at Hollywood Casino Kansas Speedway for this spring for all the playoff hoops and hockey action, baseball, and don't forget the draft. We've got the biggest screens, the best food and drink, plus we're giving away pin cash bonuses and prizes to Pin Play Rewards members. Not a member? Join today by downloading and registering for the Pin Play app from the App Store. Unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in pin cash. All this and more. Make Hollywood Casino Kansas Speedway your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem?
The Chiefs, maybe 31 picks after that. Maybe less. We'll just have to see if there is that run on offensive tackles and maybe the Chiefs want to get up there and grab somebody, or there starts to be a run on wide receivers. Maybe the Chiefs want to get up there and grab somebody, or wide receivers and tackles are gone, and maybe they end up going like cornerback or defensive line or something like that. That's not what a lot of people are expecting. certainly being an offensive tackle or wide receiver. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Sterling's hanging out at Hollywood Casinos at the Kansas Speedway. We'll talk about the best draft picks since Patrick Mahomes next.
GaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. Sterling hanging out at Hollywood Casino. Draft coverage throughout the day presented by Hollywood Casino. Get in and on all the sports betting action with the only sports book in Kansas City. Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway. Also, Greenlight Dispensary. Try the new AI Bud Tender to help you shop the huge menu online, up to 40% off select items this month. Visit greenlightdispensary.com. And Twin Peaks on the clock. Catch all of the draft action at the Ultimate Sports Lodge. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, and scenic views. Sterling Holmes is hanging out with us. Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. An hour from now, we'll play some sports or leisure, which, of course, will be all NFL draft related, as it should be.
On your side, maybe, pal.
What? We're not doing all NFL draft movies, which is just simply going to be about draft day.
Yeah, I looked, and
who, no matter
the
what,
IMDb is just one movie.
Who, no matter what, Vontae Mack, and we're out. We are out. What was in the back of the playbook that he didn't realize was there? $100 bill. Spoiler alert, if you're going to watch it. We need another draft movie. We need another draft movie that isn't a GM that's driving into the office on draft day and is listening to the radio and decides, I'm going to panic and I'm just going to do. You know what? I'm going to go get this quarterback. I'm going to go get this quarterback. Let's get this quarterback. Because Aaron Goldhammer was on the air, and also, who does he do the show with in Cleveland? I know this. It's Tony. It's the guy that we play all the time with. I'm at Buffalo Wild Wings. I will fight you. It's
Tony Danza.
It is not Tony Danza. It's Tiny Dancer.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Got there.
Neither of those two. But we play it. One of the best clips we have. If you're one of them guys that's trying to hold a parade for losing every game, come down. I will fight you. I am at Buffalo Wild Wings. You stay away from me, my show, and my family. It's a great line. I want to say like Tony Reale, but it's not Tony Reale, obviously, because that's...
I have found the Baker interaction with him.
Oh,
that's also right.
No, that's a different guy. That's the reporter.
Tony?
That's the reporter. That's a Tony.
Gotcha.
That's the reporter that was a Jesus Tony.
Yes.
You know.
Okay, so never mind.
Yeah, the other Tony is the one we have in the saved clips that we have on the hotkeys or whatever that has the come down to Buffalo Wild Wings. But anyway, regardless, they need a couple more draft day movies, I would think, instead of just the one with Kevin Costner that. A GM has all of this planning and everything that he's done throughout the year, and all of a sudden, just draft day decides I'm going to risk it all for a quarterback that we haven't done a whole lot of work on, and a lot of people didn't really like what this guy did, and nobody showed up to the quarterback's birthday party. Sterling, would you be drafted if you had a birthday party? Would people show up to yours?
I think so.
Okay.
I think people would show up to it.
You're better than that guy. I guess technically, could Jerry Maguire be somewhat of a pseudo draft because he had Kush. He got Kush Lash, right? Kush Lash that took place.
Have we thought about you, Dylan, and myself creating a draft day movie? Because I think we could totally do it.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Dylan's the athlete, of course. He's the only one who at least is semi-believable as an athlete.
Yeah, he's the quarterback. He's the one that shows up, and the guy that goes through all the workouts and everything. He might be the the good guy, the bad guy, the protagonist, the antagonist. We'll figure that out as we go along when we come up with these different storylines.
I'll be Sean McVay.
Yes, that's you can do that. Is it the hair? Is that why you're going with Sean McVay?
It's the hair. I need to work on the biceps, but I could do Sean McVay.
Okay. All right, let's get into draft picks throughout the Chiefs' history since 2017. Chiefs draft picks since 2017, since they took the immortal Patrick LaVon Mahomes II. Should we start? Let's start 3, then we'll go to 2, then we'll go to 1. Because when we started with number 1, when we did our college basketball coaches, Sterling got really upset that we started at
Well, it's a
number 1.
buzzkill. Why are we giving everyone the gold? We got you start with bronze.
Buzz Killington.
I guess Mahomes didn't start with bronze. So far he's
he went with Sterling.
Yeah.
So should we start with Sterling on our number 3? Well, Sterling was number 1 for them, so that tells us we should start with Sterling and start from number 1. Who cares? We'll start at number 3. So we're just looking at who the best draft picks are. Now you can wrap it in any logic or reason that you want as to why you've come up with 3, 2, and then the best draft pick since they drafted Patrick Mahomes. So let's start with number 3. Sterling, it's your birthday. You can lead us off. You're at Hollywood Casino. You can place some bets on what's going to go on tonight, some prop bets and some fun draft day specials that are there. I may have just laid a couple of coins on Trey Benson being the first running back drafted. There's some smoke about him being drafted first now. J.C. Latham has now moved up to almost even money for him being the first offensive lineman taken. 2 days ago, he was like plus 2,000. Now he's like plus 150 because the expectation is now the Chargers are going to take him at number 5 tonight ahead of Joe Alt and the Titans at number 7 to pair with Rashawn Slater for the Chargers so that Jim Harbaugh will have his anchor tackles and to help open up the run game. So now he's had this huge move. There's a lot of feel that the Giants are going to be taking a quarterback. J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings seems like it has some steam going there. So we'll find out. Penix maybe to the Raiders. So there's a number of things there that is going on in the draft. So you can certainly do that at Hollywood Casino. Let's start off with your number 3 choice, Sterling, the third best draft pick by the Chiefs since 2017.
Yeah, I want to point out for this, I didn't go by just best player because I think that's kind of obvious. I wanted to go more or less with where do they fit in, their impact obviously, but where they were drafted.
Yes, I agree.
Right? If you're a first rounder, well, I expect you to be a solid player, right? You're going to have to be elite to get to that next level on this. If you were, let's just say, a 5th, 6th, 7th rounder and you have clearly exceeded expectations, well, I think I'm going to rank you higher. So for that reason, going with the 5th rounder who got a second contract now here in Kansas City, I'm going Mike Dana. Mike Dana didn't have a lot of expectations when he was drafted, and he has been perpetually underrated. The statistics obviously are not going to be as good as some other guys that you guys may even have on your list, but I think where he was drafted, coupled with the second contract, coupled to, again, being a steady force on when he was drafted early, having to make an impact because the defensive line was so poor, I think Mike Dana gets thrown away too quickly. Mike Dana is my number 3. I love the versatility. I love that Spags loves using him in the NASCAR package, inside, outside. Mike Dana is my number 3.
Dylan, your number 3?
My number 3 is Trey Smith. A little same reasoning. Sterling had the value in that pick, getting him in the 6th round, and what you've gotten out of him, which is a 2-time Super Bowl champion guard that will make a lot of money either from us or someone else.
Okay, so we all 3 have different number 3, so that's good. My number 3, and Sterling, I'm with you in terms of value and where they were drafted and fit and ability and all of those things. But I think it was such a home run get. And the fact that you traded up to do that, and I know that it costs more and maybe that takes value away from some. My number 3 is Trent McDuffie because they at least identified, they, moved some things around. They went a little more all in than they typically would do, or, they had more picks, so it wasn't necessarily all in, but they went and got him, and he's been nothing but really good and was an all-pro this year in just his second year in the NFL as a slot corner or whatever, and it also allows them the versatility to trade away a L'Jarius Sneed and not feel like you're hamstrung that you have to sign L'Jarius Sneed to a longer-term contract because the only guys left would be Jalen Watson or Joshua Williams, or even this draft, us talking about, well, they're going to go and sign Donovan Smith, but they're going to take a cornerback in the first round because they let L'Jarius Sneed, or they traded L'Jarius Sneed, and they're going to use that 3rd round pick in 2025 to move up in the first round to take a cornerback. So even though he was a first-round draft pick, Trent McDuffie has been as advertised and worth them moving up to get him. And there's a reason they had a first-round grade on Trent McDuffie, and they didn't think he was going to be there at 21. So my number 3, And the fact that he is a first-rounder shows, obviously, how good I think he is, as most people do. So my number 3 ended up being Trent McDuffie. We'll go in reverse order now. My second best draft pick is what Dylan's third is Trey Smith. Getting him in the 6th round, he's added some nastiness to the offensive line. And you know what? If people thought Trey Smith would be this, he wouldn't have been drafted in the 6th round. He'd be a 2nd-round guy. Hell, somebody might have said into the 1st round, this is the best guard in the draft. This guy can be a Pro Bowl guard for 3 or 4 years, a second contract guard that's going to get a lot of money when his rookie deal is up. And look what he's going to be able to do, and just the no quit, the second, the third effort, the kind of on the field that even though you're falling backwards, he's still going to want to actually slam you into the ground just so you know he's there. So the next time you're thinking about that, it was just an awesome, awesome pick, and it's been a huge difference maker for this team. Maybe they could have gotten by with Allegretti, filling in that role and being that starting right guard if they did not have Trey Smith or they went a different route. But it also allowed them to have Allegretti fill in when somebody got injured in a Joe Thuney. If Allegretti's at right guard and Joe Thuney goes down, now Caliendo's playing, and we would have to see what would happen with that. But Trey Smith is my number 2 best pick for the Chiefs since 2017. Dylan, number 2 for you. You went Trey Smith, number 3. Who's number 2 on your board?
I will go Creed at number 2. Just
I like it.
I think the 2nd-round value of getting Creed there. And just what they do as centers, the list of Mitch Morse and Rodney Hudson and now Creed, they're very good at that. So I'll go Creed.
Well, somebody I don't know where it's at, but somebody did a redraft of that draft, and Creed went 15th overall.
Yeah.
So there's along the lines of your thinking as well.
And there's probably a center in that 1st round somewhere, I'd imagine, too.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was Cesar Ruiz's draft.
The draft, the actual 1st round draft pick that took place in that draft is getting ready to play center for the Eagles is Landon. That was playing guard. He went in the 1st round. And then who's the center for the Packers? Because he went 1 pick in front of Creed.
Ohio State kid, I know.
I can't remember who it was,
but
there was a center drafted right before Creed, and then the Chiefs took Creed. So he was the 3rd or maybe the 4th center. Either way, he was at least the 3rd center drafted. And that
Josh Myers.
Okay.
Josh Myers.
There you go.
Ohio State, right?
Yes, correct.
And so then they went Creed, Humphrey right after that. I like Creed as the second best on that list. Sterling?
I actually had Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey as my honorable mentions. I have one more HM, but I don't want to give anything away just yet.
Don't give it away.
Trey Smith and Humphrey were just on the outside looking in. I went Dana 3-2. I actually went McDuffie, just for your exact reasons there, Jason. Even though he was drafted as high as he was, they had to trade up for McDuffie. The fact is, he has exceeded those expectations. I think cornerback is a finicky position. I think it's one where, as you're seeing with the Bills and Kaiir Elam, I think 1st-round cornerbacks have a fairly high bust rate, yet the Chiefs nailed it with McDuffie. They got their guy, and he has rewarded them with the 1st-team All-Pro. Again, slot or outside, I don't really care, but you're right. It does allow them to move on from a guy who's as talented as L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, and typically, I mean, look, they didn't move on from Chris Jones because, the value he presents and how good he is as the defensive lineman, and those guys don't grow on trees, okay? He may have been grown in a lab just with all of the traits that he has, okay? Somehow he was a 2nd-round draft pick.
Well, Jason, I need to push back just a little bit there. Okay. I don't think anyone's actually grown on trees.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what he was. Guys like him don't grow on trees. They don't. They can grow in a lab, though. I mean, Mahomes was he was created, right? Like, he's not like a real human.
Well, I mean, I'll point out, Jason, I don't think you were also grown on a tree. Take that as you will, but
I'm going to take that as I will. I don't think I was grown on a tree either. You know what? And money. You don't just go get money from the money tree either.
Which is one of the few things that kind of does come from trees. Like, we were
Isn't
lied
that weird?
to. Yeah.
Isn't that weird? It's like, well, I can't just go get money. Why don't you just go get money from the money tree? The money tree's right outside. It's a money tree. All right, Sterling, so you went last there. So we'll snake back around. Sterling, you'll lead us off. Who is your number 1, the best draft pick for the Chiefs since Patrick Mahomes?
I think it's kind of obvious. L'Jarius Sneed, the guy we're talking about. I know he didn't get a second contract here in Kansas City, but that's kind of a good thing, right? How many cornerbacks do get a second contract here in Kansas City? He was a fourth-round draft pick who should have been All-Pro last year. I don't think there's any question that he was snubbed of that. L'Jarius Sneed, inside, outside, the versatility, the chess piece. I think part of it was allowing the Chiefs to move on from Tyrann Mathieu. I get different positions, safety versus corner, but the versatility of Sneed to use him as that, again, I guess, chess piece, if you will, allow them to move on from a guy like Tyrann. L'Jarius Sneed, to me, is the best pick post-Mahomes.
Post Malone or post Mahomes? Which one?
Could be both, actually.
Yeah, probably, yes. Dylan, you're number one?
McDuffie.
Okay.
So I just watching the fact that he ran Debo's routes in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage. I can't get that out of my mind.
Brilliant.
It's just so awesome. So, and we get to keep him for a little longer. So yeah, I'll go number one. Him.
My number one was Sterling. It was L'Jarius Sneed for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned there, Sterling, and that you got a guy who turned in to be just a lockdown cornerback, a guy who traveled with the number one receiver, each and every week. The guy who had Tyreek Hill saying, y'all saw when he threw me to the ground, that was L'Jarius Sneed, sort of a tone setter there. And one thing that I think the Chiefs will miss, and they'll have to find somebody to do it, but they will definitely miss when L'Jarius Sneed was on the outside, you didn't throw the quick pass down the line of scrimmage to a wide receiver. No. It was tackled. He would get through the wide receiver, he would work through the block, and he would make the tackle. Then him being out there, not only like traveling with wide receivers and doing that, he eliminated that little aspect from the opposing team's game as well. If I'm just going to take the snap and boom, quick down the line of scrimmage, we got numbers down there. No, you don't, because that wide receiver is not placing his hands on Sneed good enough to where he's not going to work back around that and make the tackle. And he's not the only one, because I think Dave Merritt and the Chiefs do a great job of, one, coaching it, but also drafting that, because that was one of the things about Trent McDuffie is that he would come up and tackle. He's a willing tackler. It's not like Marcus Peters or we've seen other cornerbacks. This guy wants to get his nose dirty. This guy wants to get in on the action, and he's done that. Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, those guys battling through blocks to get up there and make those hits in the backfield on those wide receivers. Physical, taller, longer arms to get and shed the blocker. Has helped the Chiefs do that. And one of the things that adds to L'Jarius Sneed is they took him in the fourth round. They got what should be All-Pro, at minimum Pro Bowl production from him, and then they flipped that into a third-rounder. So they took him in the fourth, and they got a third-rounder for him 4 years later. So I just that was such a dynamite pick. I have a couple of honorable mentions as well. My two honorable mentions were Creed and Mike Dana. I had those listed, but McDuffie and Trey Smith and Sneed obviously made the list. Sterling, you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and then George Karlaftis. Again, I know Karlaftis was a first-round guy, but he was thrust into a role where he had to make an impact year one, and he did. Not many edge rushers make an impact as quickly as Karlaftis did. Now, I don't know if his ceiling's ever going to be as high as a Myles Garrett by any means, but he was also drafted at 32. You don't expect that. I think Karlaftis, a little bit like Mike Dana to an extent, has become perpetually underrated, especially by the national media. The fact of the matter is Karlaftis can be on the field, 80% of the snaps?
Yeah.
I mean, that's very unique. We sometimes see Max Crosby and how often he's out there. That's the complete outlier. But to an extent, Karlaftis and his motor is an outlier too. He's good getting after the quarterback, and he's very good against the run as well. He's a complete player, and he still is so young. He was an honorable mention. I couldn't quite give him over Mike Dana because of the fifth-round tender on Mike.
I get it.
But I think Karlaftis deserves more credit than he gets as well.
Honorable mentions, Dylan, for you?
Give me Mike Dana. I didn't have any, but Sterling made a good point. Mike Dana.
Yeah, Mike Dana. So there you go.
Can you clip that, by the way, of you saying Sterling made a good point? I would love to have that.
We went off the air, and
I actually dumped it.
And all the computers stopped working at that exact time. That's weird. You know what? There you go.
2 weeks in a row, actually.
There's your birthday present.
There you go.
There's your birthday. Don't ever say that Dylan didn't get you anything.
There's two things. I got you to Hollywood Casino. And I said I agree with you.
Doubling up on your 30th birthday, Sterling. How's it feel to be 30?
Feels like 18, 19. Yeah, it feels the exact same. I don't feel 30.
You feel like you're 29?
I feel 29. Well, fun fact for you.
Okay.
It's not really fun, and no one cares. I do a thing where every single year I can see if I can still get rim. 10 feet, because I'm a big basketball guy, obviously. I want to see if I can still get it. From ages 18 to 29, I've been able to. So I need to see if I can still get it at age 30 or if my hops just completely go.
Just go to break.
Yeah, I told.
If you missed out on any of the sales last weekend, Greenlight Dispensary has you covered. They're having post 420 clearance sales all this week. You can go to any...
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. Sterling is hanging out at Hollywood Casino, Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, baby.
The NFL Draft coming up tonight. You can watch it there tonight, tomorrow, and also set. In fact, you don't even have to leave. You can just stay there until the draft is over. Huh?
I brought a air mattress,
Good
just
for
so
you.
you know. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. I believe Seren and Curtis and Mark Bo Richter did as well for them tonight when the draft is officially over. I think after the Super Bowl, did you and Briscoe Dylan, did you guys just stay here, or did you guys go home and actually get a little shut-eye after the Super Bowl postgame?
I went home and tried. Yes. I think it was 2 hours total.
The Royals World Series Game 5 in 2015, I believe, was an all-nighter. And, like, St. John and Nate, I don't believe, went to bed. Like, I think they stayed up. They were a part of the post-game show, and then they did their show at 6 in the morning.
Now,
the next
we
morning.
would have had to if it was 6 a.m., but thank
yeah, for
God
sure.
it was 10.
Absolutely, for sure.
And that's an Ironman challenge for those guys, as well
Yeah.
as the gentleman doing the draft
I mean,
tonight.
they're starting at
that
2
is-
o'clock.
I can't.
They're starting their regular show at 2 o'clock till 6, and then they're doing the NFL Draft special coming up tonight, where the Chiefs may pick it. What? How long does the draft first round usually last? 3 hours?
6 hours.
Long time.
Like the first, it used to be 6 hours,
Yeah,
right?
if you think you're going to be mad if they trade out of that spot.
Oh man,
I couldn't imagine.
yeah. So the on the clock will start at 10 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Thank God it's not 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock somewhere. But the Bears will be on the clock at 7 o'clock. And, one of the texts came in earlier and said, it'd be nice if when the teams know who they're going to take, they just simply turn the card in and pick who they're going to pick and not wait the full 10 minutes. And I do agree with that. But I think some of that is the NFL. Doesn't the NFL make the first pick wait 10 minutes, even though they know who they're going to draft? Like, I could be wrong. Maybe the Bears tonight, when it says Bears are on the clock and then 4 minutes to go, it'll say the pick is in. We know they're taking Caleb Williams. They know who they're taking. Even if it's like, well, we don't know that they're taking Caleb Williams. Maybe they took somebody else. Whatever. They know who they're taking. But I'm pretty sure, like, every year, the first pick in the draft, doesn't the full 10-minute allotment go away? And then they say the pick is in, and it's like, come on, man, you knew the whole time. Let's go. Let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah, I
The
think
Trevor Lawrence one.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence was the worst.
Yeah.
Stafford, when they paid him before the draft, I think.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Still did that.
Yes. The defensive end from North Carolina State to Houston instead of Reggie Bush, they paid him. Mario Williams, is that who it was? They paid him the night before. They agreed to a contract with him the night before taking him number one. It's like, and that time was still 15 minutes, right? That was still 15. 15 minutes per pick? You don't need the 10, let alone 15 minutes between a pick, man. Now, if the Chiefs had the third or fourth pick, hey, 20 minutes before picks, I get it. You need to really examine all of the
Gotta
different
think about it,
options, man. You need to know what's there. Somebody trying to trade up. Can you trade back? Go through all of the medicals once again. You want to make sure you're getting it right. Pick number 32, I don't know that you need more than 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe you should have done more planning beforehand. Trying to pull off this last-second deal like your Costner, maybe you should have done a little planning, the days before. Brett Veach and the Chiefs had a deal with the Buffalo Bills on Tuesday of the draft in 2017 when they selected one Patrick LaVon Mahomes with the Buffalo Bills at number 10. They had already figured that out. He wasn't there at number 10, and they all of a sudden got on the phone. It was like, oh, Buffalo, would you like to take our first-round pick next year? And they already had it figured out. Buffalo agreed to the terms. The Chiefs agreed to the terms, and if their player was there, they wouldn't tell Buffalo who it was. But if their player was there, then they both agreed that they would do the trade, and the player was there. It was Mahomes, and they agreed to the deal. 3 minutes. Let's go. Let's move on. Now, I do believe there needs to be more celebration for the Super Bowl champ. So maybe like 15 minutes for the last pick in the first round, right? You need to that's what, if you're paying the Super Bowl champ tax of picking 32nd, there should be a little bit of a pat on the back and you know what, we're going to celebrate you a little bit more. You're going to get 15 minutes for your pick at number 32. This has nothing to do with it being about the Chiefs. Nothing at all. I'm just saying that's how generally it should be. This specific
I like
year.
it.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect example of when to do it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind of you, sir. 913-912-4810. This is an interesting point. We were talking about draft day, and we don't have enough draft movies. Text says, and this is sort of real life, says, get Kevin Costner wheeling and dealing and trading for the picks, since he did that magic on the movie. But
Twice.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't forget,
that's right.
he got him to trade.
That's
trade
right.
the picks back to him.
But Brett Veach makes the selections. So you get Costner's wheeling and dealing, but he also went like a bad quarterback, and then he went linebacker at like number 8, you know. So it's like, you know, like, really? Linebacker no matter what. Off-ball linebacker no matter what. Middle linebacker. Kevin Costner would draft Peyton Wilson tonight at number 7 or number 8. Peyton Wilson, no matter what. There was a scouting report on Peyton Wilson, which I thought this was real, sort of indicative of how he plays. The scouting report was something along the lines of, this guy may not play past his rookie contract. And it wasn't a bad thing. It was that he is so careless with his body, throwing it around, just running into people. He's so violent on the field that he may not be able to play past his first contract because his body might be broken down. That was sort of a positive and a negative at the same time, right? That's not damning with faint praise. That's like praising with some sort of a negative that might be viewed as that. Like, well, if you draft this guy, you may not be playing more than 4 years. Why? Because his body will break. Because the NFL is Drago, and he is Rocky, and he's just going to throw himself into the punches over and over again, and eventually he can't go anymore, okay? And he can't talk, and he can't see, and his career's over. But, man, those 4 years are going to be fun.
It's like the, faults that people find in themselves of being too giving and too nice or too, that's the same ilk.
Doctor said I was in too good a shape.
There you go.
Too healthy. You didn't go to your physical, did you? No, I did not.
I understood that reference.
Thank you. Very good. Yeah.
I love just making sure you know because you need that, right? Because what if we're just like, dude, what are you talking about? We have no idea what you're talking about, Jason.
It's mainly
then you'd feel pretty bad.
It's mainly the movie references that I was scarred by with Josh. You have already told me that you were a big Family Guy fan, so
of course, but still,
so I would expect you to
let
get
you know.
No, I appreciate it, absolutely, and I'll let you know on the very, very, very rare occasion that I get your sports reference or your music reference. The very rare occasion that I pick up on your music reference, because it's worse than Josh with movies to me. My musical lack thereof, any connection of songs and artists and things like that you obviously have grown up on in your life. You were what's the line by Bane? You know, I was born in the darkness.
I was born in the music.
I was born in the music. You merely moved here. You were born in the music. Everybody else merely is playing along. So I can't. I can't. I'm never going to be anywhere near on that level. But the text said, "You get Brett Veach making the picks, Kevin Costner wheeling and dealing. The Chiefs will somehow end up with Joe Alt and Roma Dunze tonight."
Yeah, the wheeling and dealing of Kevin Costner, but the conviction of Brett Veach.
Yeah,
that's the perfect GM.
I like that. Yeah. Yes, but not the. Yeah, so just the wheeling and dealing, right? Because Kevin Costner, the spur of the moment, the whim, like, oh, I got a wild hair. Let's go get a quarterback tonight. No, to hell with that. Let's go get a linebacker. Number 8. This is gonna be a tone setter. Oh, by the way, my true number 1 pick, number 1 draft pick since Patrick Mahomes is Nick Bolton. That was my true number 1. I put L'Jarius Sneed just to play along the game with you guys, but really, truly, the best selection by the Chiefs and Brett Veach since Patrick Mahomes has been Nick Bolton. Do they win any Super Bowl without Nick Bolton on the field?
See, I don't know this about you yet, Jason. If you're having any Nick Bolton slander, if this is you being facetious right now, I will drive back from Hollywood Casino, which is going to hurt me very much because Hollywood Casino is outstanding. If you are ripping on Nick Bolton, sir, I will drive back and I will have a mean-worded letter that I will hand deliver you and watch you open it, and you will read my mean words to you, good sir.
He actually can't because he's legally obligated to say nice things about Nick Bolton. He went to the zoo.
That's right. Yeah, Sterling. All right. I mean, so it's like, here's the deal. I'm at Union Broadcasting. I will fight you. I will fight you. Also, obviously, I'm being facetious a little bit with that, but not to the degree that people hate the pick. I like the pick. I think he's been really good.
I will fight you.
Thank you. Tony Rizzo,
Jason
by the way.
wants Anthony Hitchens back. That's all I gathered
Oh,
from
my
this
God. No,
conversation.
thank you. No, thank you.
That's why I couldn't find
Dorian
the
O'Daniel,
hotkey earlier.
what's he up to?
It was under Rizzo.
It was under Rizzo?
We didn't know his last name.
Yeah, Tony Rizzo was the I will fight you. I'm at
Wild Wing. I am at Buffalo Wild Wing because I will fight you.
If you're one of them guys that's planning a parade for this team going 0-16.
My God, man. Have some pride in yourself.
It's one of, if not the greatest sports radio rants that I have ever heard. It's so brilliant. So brilliant. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810. Text says, honorable mention, no mention of Pacheco in there. That's a good point. I mean,
point.
It probably, Pacheco.
I thought about it.
Yeah, Pacheco should have been one of my. If I'm coming up with honorable mentions, then I should have included Pacheco in there.
Yeah.
The reason why I didn't was the running back. I mean, the seventh round.
Yeah,
the
but
production he's
seventh
had
round
has
running back,
been
though.
phenomenal. I know it was so hard. Pacheco just missed. I couldn't have all honorable mentions, right? I didn't want to have five dudes. He was on the honorable of the honorable mention.
I got honorable mentions of Brian Cook. Pacheco. I think Josh Williams has to be in there.
Juan Thornhill.
Juan Thornhill, honorable mention for sure. Jalen Watson, definitely. Nick Bolton. Leo Chanel has to be an honorable mention on there. You got to include that guy. But, yeah, I do think I should have included Pacheco because, yeah, running back, but we know how much better of a running back he is than Clyde. So while we may not like the value of drafting a running back with in the first round, I don't know, maybe the second round, depending on, your views and convictions on that. But clearly, drafting him in the seventh round, there's a lot of value in said draft pick. 913-912-4810. The news out of the NFL, Trey Hendrickson is not happy in Cincinnati. He wants to be traded. He has asked for a trade from the Cincinnati Bengals that is now Sterling, not one, but two important Cincinnati Bengals players, one on each side of the football, that have asked to be traded to the Cincinnati front office. T. Higgins wants to be traded, and Trey Hendrickson. Now, they both want to be traded because they want a better contract. If they got the contract they're looking for and want in Cincinnati, they would not ask to be traded. But they're asking to be traded because they don't feel like they're getting it, especially when T. Higgins is saying they haven't even talked with him about an extension. It's just, here's the franchise tag, radio silent. And he's like, then trade me. And maybe there is a trade of an Ayuk or a T. Higgins or something like that. We see some players get traded on draft night a lot. So, maybe this is a somewhat of a one of those big blockbuster deal nights where we see an Ayuk or a T. Higgins. But for Cincinnati specifically, to have T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson both say, yeah, I want out. I want out of Cincinnati. And they were lobbing, insults at the Chiefs with like, oh, you lost Snead. You might lose Chris Jones. Oh, you got this going. You got that going on. Yeah. Also got 3 Super Bowls going on with that. Y'all got a Super Bowl appearance and 2 of your best players saying, I want out of this.
Is this any surprise to anyone who understands how the Bengals front office is run and how the ownership is known for being cheap? this should surprise absolutely no one. Again, it's why you have to take advantage of your window when you have it, because every single fan thinks their window is wider and longer than anyone else's. It's why the Bills, when all those fans were talking about, we'll be back. Well, will you? With the Bengals,
Right.
It sucks, but Joe Burrow got injured a couple of times. All of a sudden, he's no longer on a rookie deal, and now you're going to pay the wide receivers, and you're sitting here going, well, that window sure was short. And what did the Chiefs have, right? Their window, to me, and again, maybe because I also am a Chiefs fan to try and go with unbiased analysis, their window is more open, and they have the rings to back it up. So you're sitting here with Bengals and Bills, they're looking back saying, well, what the hell just happened? How did this all of a sudden go from we have so much future ahead of us to, wow, I guess we have to rebuild? Because that's what it looks like they're going to have to do if they're not going to pay their guys. Now, I'm not trying to you're going to make fun of me, I know, for name dropping here, but I talked to Jamar Chase back in February.
Most people have. That's not a big name drop. I mean, we've all talked to Jamar Chase at some point.
And I was talking with him, and he was not as boisterous. He was not as confident as I have seen him in the past, right? A lot of the time was, we're the team to beat and all this chirping and all that stuff. And I talked about what's going to be like having Joe Burrow back next year and the team back together. And he kind of was like, well, we have to figure out my situation. We got to figure out T. And that was the first time that I go, all right, maybe the Bengals are going to be blowing this thing up. If Jamar Chase, the most confident dude in the world, it seems like, is having some trepidation about next year, what should we think? Because that gave me some cause to pause.
Well, and I will, when we're talking about the Bengals and the Bills, this to me goes back to Patrick Mahomes and what the Chiefs have done. It's why Patrick Mahomes, to me, he's more Jordan than, and I know the comparison to Steph of changing the game, and Steph Curry helped change the game and all of that stuff. And I completely agree. The Splash Brothers, the pace and space, all of that stuff. But the Tom Brady and the Michael Jordan comparison for Patrick Mahomes, because how many rings does Peyton Manning have if Brady, was just a career backup? Does Phillip Rivers have a ring if it weren't for Brady, if he was just a career backup? How many rings did Tom Brady take away from other quarterbacks in the even if it meant getting to a Super Bowl and losing, that AFC team might have gotten there and won. We look at Brady beating the Rams in 2018. I believe the Chiefs beat the Rams as well. So Brady got that ring, right? The Chiefs didn't. But if the Patriots would have lost to the Rams, I still think it was a Rams matchup. I look at 2015 NCAA tournament. Duke won the NCAA tournament that year over Wisconsin, and that was the one and done team with Justice Winslow and Jaleel Okafor, one of your favorite players. You had you had the freshman there, but I believe Duke was Kentucky, that was undefeated going into that Wisconsin game, was a terrible matchup for Duke. They were Duke was a good matchup for them. Wisconsin was a bad matchup for them. Well, Duke didn't have to play them. And Duke beats Wisconsin on Monday night. I don't think Duke beats Kentucky on Monday night. But we don't know. It never happened because they ended up losing. But how many rings did, Tom Brady take away from, other quarterbacks? How many rings did Michael Jordan cost did Reggie Miller, Stockton and Malone? Yeah. Jordan has rings that if he wasn't around, other players would have and have different views historically. And does Josh Allen have a ring?
Yes.
If Mahomes isn't around?
Yes.
That
the
divisional
13-second game, yes. He has one. Does Lamar Jackson have one? And the narrative, is that completely flipped?
Yeah.
Is Lamar Jackson just choking in the playoffs? Is that all of a sudden a false narrative if Mahomes wasn't around? That's a very good point, because the Chiefs have won. They were not supposed to win a Super Bowl last year. That was not theirs to win.
The last 2 years, they traded Tyreek Hill. The window was closed. You traded Tyreek, you're done. Keenan Allen, people are about to get exposed. Keenan, who? He still hasn't answered who was the subject
that's why
of
he
that.
left teams. That's why Keenan left. He goes, I'm done. I got to get out of here, man. I can't do it. Mike Williams, I can't stay in the AFC West any longer. I have to leave. Derek Carr, I am tired of this. I have to leave. Josh Jacobs, I'm sorry. Nick Bolton is crushing me. I have to leave.
Sterling is crushing it on his birthday there at Hollywood Casino. We will take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour. Sports or leisure? We got some draft edition on the sports side that comes up at 1 o'clock, presented by Johnny's Tavern. More Zone right after this. Country and Twin Peaks. Hanging out at Hollywood Casino is Sterling Holmes. Sterling, you're there. It's your birthday, but you got other things going on. What's going on that you'll be taking part in as well?
Yes, it's a party, obviously, at Hollywood Casino. But tonight, if you're into 80s rock music, go to Guitars and Cadillacs to support Kids TLC. Rusty Laffoon kicks off the evening, followed by the Rock Gods. 100% of the money raised go to help children in our community to bring hope and healing to young lives and their families through innovation and proven therapies in residential and outpatient programs. Get your tickets today by going to kidsstlc.org. Must be 21 to attend. Doors open at 6:30. Again, that is tonight at Guitars and Cadillacs.
kidsstlc.com. For
Correct,
that
yes.
coming up tonight. 913-381-810 is the phone number. First in, first on to play some sports or leisure. You get a sports question, you get a leisure question. You get them both right, you win. Either of them wrong, you lose. The question is out there available for someone to call in and request. We don't give out the right answer until it is answered correctly, or we have simply run out of time to play. That is how we play the game that we like to call sports or leisure. Categories on a sports or leisure NFL Draft Thursday. Categories are NFL Draft, Chiefs Draft, and then local college draft. So KU, K-State, Mizzou. So if you choose local college draft, please let me know the school as well that you would prefer to answer a question about. So NFL Draft, Chiefs Draft, local college schools draft. That's the sports side. On to leisure. Sterling, what do we have for categories on leisure today?
We have my favorite, Sing Me a Song, You're the Piano Man, which is Finish the Lyric. And we also have the birthday edition.
Yay!
Well, it's not things about me because no one cares about me. It's just normal birthday questions that I thought were kind of fun.
Mr. Sterling. Kind of fun birthday questions. All right. That's a subjective term, though. Might be kind of fun for you. Might be boring for everybody else. You never know.
Yeah, well, that's why I said kind of and not like extremely or electric. It's
undeniable fun.
Yeah, it's semi-fun.
That's great. All right, I am ready to go. Sterling, you good to go?
Beers are cracked. I am ready to go.
The grill is hot, the water's luke, and the beers are cold. Let's rock. Dylan, you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, fantastic. 913-381-810 to the phone lines we go, and we start off with Kyle leading us off on sports or leisure. Kyle, what side do you want to start with, sports side or the leisure side?
Let's do sports, and we'll do the NFL draft.
The NFL draft for you. Okay, so who was the last number one overall pick that did not play quarterback or edge? The last number one overall pick in the NFL draft that was not an edge rusher or a quarterback. Also, if you can name it while listening to the seventh inning stretch.
You guys can hear that through my microphone.
Yeah, we
It's kind
can.
of nice, right?
That's right. I'm really hoping.
Yeah.
I would like somebody to go out and get some salted peanuts for me. Lemonade, 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 lemonade. Woo!
Let's see.
Last number one overall pick that did not play edge or quarterback.
Would it be
Probably.
Clowney?
It was not Clowney. Kyle, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. Clowney, edge. No edge, no quarterback. No edge, no quarterback with the number one overall pick, the most recent one that was not a quarterback or an edge. That trend will continue as Caleb Williams will be the number one pick coming up tonight. Let's head to Joel next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Joel, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Sports, I don't know that either, so let's do local draft, K-State, please.
Local draft K-State for you. Okay. Who was the only offensive player for Kansas State taken in the first round? It's a layup.
Only offensive player for K-State taken in the first round. Oh, my goodness.
I know. You're going to...
Michael Beasley, right?
Those are the-
Is it Michael Beasley?
That's right. It was Michael. We're looking for Mitch Richmond. No, it's not Michael Beasley, Sterling, smart
You
ass.
said offensive player taken in the first round. Michael Beasley was 1,000% an offensive player taken in the first round.
You're not wrong about that. So was Mitch, though. NFL draft.
Oh, sorry. That's on me. Yeah.
The only offensive player for Kansas State taken in the first round. They've had a number of first-round draft picks. Just most all of them have been defense. In fact, all of them but this player. So not even most all of them.
That's why I'm blanking on this. I'm trying to think who it was.
Man, you're gonna kick yourself. Your friends are gonna be so mad at you.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Well, most of them are KU people. They'll probably laugh at me. Oh, God. I just completely blanking on this. I'm not going to waste your time. Sorry.
Joel, thank you for playing, man. I'm sure that you'll hear that answer very soon. 913-381-0810. Avery, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Well, I feel like that was Josh Freeman, but I'm not sure. Do you saw that Eric Fisher question out there?
See, now, why you got to go and do that, though?
Well, we don't know. I could be wrong.
So
I'm a KU guy. I don't know much about Kansas State.
I'm going to go ahead and give you.
Why did he do that? Why?
I'm going to give you.
Why?
I'm going to give you the Josh Freeman one. Okay, so you got that right. Josh Freeman is
Josh
correct.
Freeman?
Yeah, it was the offensive player for K-State. Joel's going to be mad at himself. Josh Freeman is correct. I was really surprised, by the way, to know that he's the only. A lot of first-round draft picks, just so many defensive players that have been taken in the first round. So, leisure side for you with Sterling.
Come on, don't take two out at once now because
that's not right.
we spend hours and hours curating this list.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if I take one of these down. Birthday questions? Like, is it about
yeah.
your birthday or is it about?
No, not my birthday. I'm not that much of a psycho or a narcissist. These are just general birthday questions.
Where did Sterling go for his 18th birthday?
Okay, TGI Friday. No, it was a Chili's.
It was definitely a Chili's.
Jail. The correct answer was jail.
We would have accepted grand, totally nude. Either one of those would have been fine. But anyway, go right ahead with your birthday question there, Sterling.
Well, does he want birthday or is he going to sing me a song?
He said he wanted birthday.
Birthday. Like, every time you've done one of these song ones, I'm like, oh, God, I don't know what they're saying there. Like, I'm like coming in, I'm like.
All right, I got you. Who makes... All right, listen closely. Who makes Fudgy the Whale and Cookie Puss?
Carvel?
Yes, baby. See, you knew it. You knew it was Carvel.
I'm lost on that one. What am I missing here?
I've heard of this on TV. Like, I don't think we have one of those around here, right?
We don't have one around us, but you've heard of Fudgy the Whale and Cookie Puss. Yeah, this is ice cream birthday cake. The most popular in the world.
No, I haven't heard of either of them. Like, honestly,
read a book, Jason.
Are there books about Fudgy the Whale? I apologize. Sorry, I was reading books about Icarus and
Next time
other
I'm eating
things.
a birthday cake, I'll make sure to get the brand.
Yes,
please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next time, give me Carvel.
Mm-hmm.
No one remembers this.
Yeah, well done. Nice job, Avery. We'll put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations. Sorry, I was reading about. I was Fudgy the Whale. I was reading Ishtar. That's what I was reading about. Okay. Fudgy, but what is it like? Legit, like I'm lost here. So maybe I'm ignorant to this, and maybe
there's
people
ice
make fun of
cream
me.
cakes.
Okay.
Like the OG ice cream cakes were Fudgy the Whale and
Okay.
Cookie Puss, and then they also created an Irish version called Cookie Opus. Am I taking crazy pills?
No,
you're
I don't
older
think
than
so.
me, Jason. You should know this.
No, Avery knew that. I've just never
Avery
heard.
knew it.
I've just never heard of those. We didn't celebrate birthdays in my house, so I don't know what's really going on here. No, seriously, I had no idea. So that's made by Carvel.
Carvel.
All right, my
Carvel,
bad. My bad. All right, I apologize. Okay, I'm with you now. All right, let's go to Andrew next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sports or leisure, Andrew? What side do you want to start with?
Let's do Chiefs draft.
Chiefs draft for you. Okay. Let's look. Kansas City Chiefs draft here.
Obviously, it.
The Chiefs have drafted 4 running backs in the first round since 1990. Name 3.
gosh. Blanking. Clyde.
Clyde is one. There you go. Two of the other three running backs the Chiefs have drafted in the first round since 1990. Percy Snow, not an answer to this one.
Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson is one. Now, one of the other two.
One of the other two, gosh.
Two other running backs drafted in the first round since 1990 by the Chiefs. One of the other two that were drafted.
Oh, gosh.
By the Chiefs.
Probably a little older than I'm thinking.
It's since 1990, so I mean.
Well, that's when I was born, so.
Okay, there you go. All right.
Shoot. Let's Christian Okoye.
It is not Christian. Not Christian Okoye. Andrew, thank you for playing, man. Appreciate it. 913-381-810-810 is the phone number. That question is out there available for someone to call in and request if they know the answer to that one. 913-381-810-810. Charles next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Charles, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's do some leisure.
Oh, yeah, let's get leisurely with it. You want the birthday questions or you want to sing me a song?
Let's do some birthday questions.
All right. All right, here we go. The month with the least amount of birthdays is blank.
Well, if you were smart, you'd probably guess February, but I'm not sure.
That would, I mean, I have no idea what the answer is, Charles, so I am not trying to lead you one way or another. That would have been my guess of just being, taking a 1 out of 12 shot. But
right.
I believe in you. I believe in you.
Is that a hint?
That sounds like.
I mean, not really. It's like
okay, you were just trying to give him confidence. Okay.
I believe in this man. I give him.
Okay.
Come on. Sometimes people need some confidence.
I was hearing like, okay, the B. Is there something with B? You. Is there something with you? Is he going with Feb? Boo. You. Like, is that what he's going with? I believe in you. Like,
I could have been doing that.
I was trying to connect it all together, right? But actually, it was just you trying to give him confidence, which is very nice of you.
It could have been both. Could have been a combo.
Could have been a combo. Charles, what do you think, bub?
Take a leap.
This is a shot in the dark. August?
No.
Not August. Charles, thank you for playing,
He took
man.
a leap, though.
I appreciate
He
it.
did take a leap.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good hint.
That's a great hint, man. It's a really good hint. Let's go to Kyle next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kyle, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Sports.
All right, we got Chiefs questions, we got local college questions, we got NFL questions, all about the draft, obviously.
Let's go with the running back question.
All right, who is one of the other two running backs that the Chiefs have drafted outside of Larry Johnson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire since 1990 in the first round?
The pride of Texas A&M, Greg Hill.
Greg Hill in 1994. Do you know who the other one was, by any chance? You've already won on this side, so just for S's and G's, if you knew it all.
Jackie Battle.
No, it was not Jack Battle.
You said 90, so is it in 90?
91, actually.
Is it Harvey?
It is Harvey Williams. That's correct. It is the long neck of Harvey Williams in 91. Greg Hill, 94. Larry Johnson, 03. And Clyde, 2000. Trey Benson, 2024, oddly enough. Crazy, huh? Not happening. Leisure with Sterling.
All right, you want a birthday question? The same one we already have out. The month with the least amount of birthdays is blank. A different birthday question, or do you want to sing me a song? You're the piano man.
I'll go birthday.
Do you want the one that's already out or a new one?
I'll take that one.
All right, the month with the least amount of birthdays is blank.
I mean, it has to be February, right?
It is February. The guy even said, if I was smart, I'd pick February. I'm like,
Right.
well, yeah.
And then you said, just take a leap. I'm like,
Just
then
take
it's-
a leap,
Then
yeah.
it's definitely February. And then he's like, if I was smart, I would go August. I'm going to go August. Damn it.
Believe it or not, August actually, I think, is the month with the most birthdays.
Well, that would make
So,
sense, yeah. It's cold inside and, around Christmas and things like that. Yeah, that would kind of make sense, I would guess. Kyle, will put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations.
Thank
well
you.
done. 913-381-810 is the phone number. There were a number of kids that were born, was it October or November? Or due this October, November? And it's like either last year and this year. And I'm like, the connection would be February of the last 2 years. If you're looking at
connection
a
of what, Jason? What are you talking about?
Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when your team wins the Super Bowl, people don't realize this. The stork comes from the sky and drops off babies. It's a very well known in the books that I've read. Read lots of books.
You're very well read.
I read lots of. I probably read the most books of anybody ever, especially on this show. That's not
a lot of
true
pictures in them, Jason.
Oh, tons of pictures. They pop up.
Good.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like some of them are like scratch and sniff, and then I can like some of them have different textures and everything. So it's like sensory stuff. It's awesome, man. They're really cool. Ryan, next up on Sports Radio 810. Ryan, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
We'll go with sports.
All right, we got Chiefs draft, NFL draft, and then local college draft questions.
Chiefs draft.
Chiefs draft for you. Okay, so we answered the running back question. Let's go with this one. Okay, so the Chiefs have picked in the top 10 11 different times. Only 3 of those 11 players played on the offense. Who were they? 11 times the Chiefs have taken a top 10 pick, 3 offensive players out of those 11. Who are the 3 offensive players?
All right, so 3 top 10 offensive players. Mahomes.
Mahomes is one of them. That's correct. Number 10.
Eric Fisher, number 1.
As well, that is correct. Number 1, Eric Fisher. And the only other top 10 pick for the Chiefs that played offense.
Probably got to go back a little bit.
This guy ended up being he was an answer to a question last week, in fact, now that I'm looking at it, I remember about the Canton stuff, born in Canton, Ohio, that thing. That question, remember that one, Sterling and Dylan?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Absolutely.
Throwback.
Because it was a Chiefs draft forgettables, but not necessarily forgettable. It was more of the, man, I can't believe that happened when all of those other guys happened.
Todd Blackledge.
Hey, well done. Todd Blackledge is correct. Nice job. Eric Fisher, number 1, Todd Blackledge and Patrick Mahomes both at number 10. And 8 defensive players all mixed in the other top 10 picks. On to leisure with Sterling.
Would you enjoy a birthday question, or would you enjoy a sing me a song at the Piano Man finish the lyric question?
Yeah, birthdays, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Birthdays.
Okay, we're just going to rip through these birthday ones, huh?
Rip it.
Okay. Do you want a riddle? Are you a fan of riddles, good sir?
You can try one, sure.
Why not? All right, well, we're going to try a riddle. What goes up and never comes down?
Your age.
Yes. Yeah.
It's birthday.
I'm the riddler over here.
It's the birthday, yes.
That's the birthday. That's the age. Yeah.
Way to put it together,
Lebo a
Ryan.
second. Lebo was like, I don't know, man. Well, and then I was like, it's birthday again,
Well,
Lebo.
I mean,
then he got it.
If I hang on the rim long enough, I mean, Sterling was looking for that earlier at age 30. So, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say jumping. Not correct.
Jumping
Ryan
was actually, yeah.
Ryan, we will put you on hold. Congratulations. Well done. Nice job answering the riddle, too, huh? Well done. Got the top 10 offensive players and what goes up and never comes down. It is your age. Except for Benjamin Button, right? So that
I guess technically, yeah. If this was an IDMB one, that would be the wrong answer.
That's right. Whatever the letters are that you try to
they're the right 4 letters.
That's
they're
correct.
Just
the order's terrible.
Fact.
Let's go to Shane next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Shane, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Let's do sports, please.
All right. What category are you thinking?
Got some more of the Chiefs draft left?
Yep. More Chiefs draft questions for you. Let's go with this one. The Chiefs traded up in the draft for just the 3rd time in their history when they took defensive player Trent McDuffie in 2022. Can you name either of the other 2 defensive players the Chiefs traded up in the first round to get?
Need to name one?
Yep, either of the players that they traded up for defensively in the first round.
I got to think back on that.
Both of them ended up being top 10 picks, too. I'll give you that hint. One of them was amazing. One of them was.
Well, are these guys Ring of Honor guys? Or,
One of them is, yeah.
yeah.
And one of them grew into a really big ring.
A big rig?
One of them grew into being a really big ring, but whatever.
Okay. Well, I'll just go ahead and throw one out there then. Let's say, got to be one of my favorites. I'm guessing, was DT one, Derek Thomas?
It's close, but Derek Thomas, they did not trade up to get. They did not trade up to get DT. Shane, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. That question is out there. It's very close. I mean, it's close. It's right around that time. Let's go to Matt next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Matt, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's go Chiefs draft. New question.
The Chiefs draft, new question for you. Okay, very good. Chiefs with the 32nd pick this year. Now, listen to the question because I tried to word it in a way that made sense. They've traded out of the first round twice in their history, which means they had a pick in the first round of that draft, and they traded it away and picked in the second round as their first pick of that draft. Not that they traded it away for Frank Clark or Orlando Brown, et cetera, or Joe Montana. So they traded away their first-round draft pick that they had that year to move back in the second round. Name either player that they selected with that second-round pick when they traded out of the first round. I'll give you a hint. One player still on this Chiefs team. And the other player was mentioned last week in the Chiefs draft forgettables. What are the odds of that? I'm just looking at that one. One player still on this team.
So these are second-round picks?
These were guys drafted in the second round, but they were their first pick of the Chiefs that year because they traded back from the first round and out of the first round. One of them still on the Chiefs right now. And another one ended up being a Chiefs draft forgettable that we talked about last week. But that was 7 days ago. Sterling, do you know the answer to this one?
I believe I do, yes.
Yes, okay, good. Good.
So are these, like, trade back during the draft? Or
yes,
like
yeah. They had a first-rounder in that draft. So, like tonight, if they trade out of the first round, and let's say they take Kingsley Suamataia tomorrow night, then the answer next year would be Kingsley Suamataia is who they took in 2024 when they traded out of the first round. But one of those players that they traded back for. Now, I'll tell you, they also traded back because they were trying to get a player that a team traded in front of them to get. That's kind of convoluted, but, you know.
Yeah,
you get the point.
now you're the man
I
talking.
I know. But it's just like they wanted a specific player in that draft. A team traded in front of them and took that player. Thank you that team did. And so they traded back and took this player. And then their next year's draft was amazing. What do you think, Matt? Throw a dart?
I'll try...
Still on the team right now.
Nick Bolton.
Nick Bolton is incorrect. It was not Nick Bolton. Matt, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. Let's take a break. We'll come back, continue playing some sports or leisure. 913-381-810. Those on, hold the line. You're up next. 913-381-810. That question is out there, available for someone to call in and request. We got another one out there as well of a Chiefs draft question. We got other NFL draft questions, and we got some local college team draft questions. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue with more Zone. Sterling hanging out at Hollywood Casino, Kansas Speedway. We continue right here on a Thursday. More Zone next.
If you missed out on the savings last weekend during 420, Greenlight Dispensary has you covered. They're having a post 420 clearance sale all this week and through the end of April. So whether you go to the website at greenlightdispensary.com or one of their 4 KC area locations, they will still have some great options for you to choose from. That's why they're voted the #1 dispensary in the state of Missouri by you, as well as the #1 loyalty program in the state of Missouri. That loyalty program is points in your wallet to be redeemed for product just like cash. And you can use those points on any of the products in their store, not the ones that they pick and choose. So I don't have to worry about if the products that I'm choosing are points eligible, because they all are. And that makes it easy because not all cannabis is flower. They have topical creams, pain patches, oils, chocolates, gummies, chips, lemonades, infused sodas, baked goods, and much more. The possibilities are endless. And if you mention 810 Senshi, you can get 20% off your first visit to any KC area Greenlight location. Again, that's State Line, Independence, Bannister, or Harrisonville, Missouri. But check them out first at greenlightdispensary.com. That's greenlightdispensary.com.
a party out here because I'm here and the beers are flowing. We're going to throw some money on red after this, too. But
yeah.
They literally have so many TVs in the sports book, and it's just phenomenal. Everywhere you look, it's hard to pay attention to some of the questions sometimes.
I get it.
They'll ask me a question, and I'm just like, yeah, that's cool and all, as I see Salvador Perez hit a home run. And you're like, okay, that's fine. That's sweet. But there's all these games on. You know, of course, I threw a little bit of money on the Brewers game, and, of course, I have already lost that bet. But I have the Red Sox game rolling right now. White Sox are beating the Twins. No, man, the setup down here at Hollywood Casino is just, it's top-notch.
So the draft comes up tonight. One of the expected first offensive linemen off the board is Joe Alt, although J.C. Latham, the numbers in Vegas have changed a lot, that he's now getting a lot of run as maybe the first offensive lineman taken off the board because the Chargers sitting there at number 5 may go Latham and package him with Rashawn Slater and have their bookend tackles with Jim Harbaugh. Well, Joe Alt, I had just realized this in an interview that he did with Kay Adams. So Joe Alt is credited with giving up 1 sack in 704 pass blocking reps, which is an amazing stat in and of itself, right?
Do we know who the sack was given up to?
But here's the thing. He technically didn't give up a sack. It's a BS ruling. He drops back in his stance. The outside linebacker contacts Joe Alt. They run a stunt. He then disconnects from Alt, twists around. Joe Alt picks up the guard, stymies him. That outside linebacker, or picks up the defensive tackle, I should say. Joe Alt picks up the defensive tackle that's heading towards him on the stunt. The outside linebacker twists inside, beats the left guard, sacks the quarterback. He's credited with that sack, Joe Alt. He gave up no sacks. That's not a Joe Alt sack. He gave up no sacks in every single pass rep that he had. How is that even close to being against him? Like, he engaged with the outside linebacker. They ran a stunt. He goes over the top of the defensive tackle. Alt then smart enough, quick enough to pick up the defensive tackle and stymies him. The left guard wasn't as lucky or good, and that guy gets a sack. That's not Joe Alt. In my book, he gave up 0 sacks. Seems pretty easy, right? Seems pretty obvious.
I say draft that guy, but I don't know.
If he's there at 32, I take Joe Alt. If he's there at 32, that's my pick.
I'd say with the Chargers, I'm drafting him too, but it's the Chargers, so
who do you want the Chiefs to draft?
Don't mess it up.
Who do you want the Chiefs to draft at 32? Oh man, I don't know. Probably Joe Alt or Rome Odunze, or if they can get Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, I feel like you can't go wrong with really any of those guys.
You know what? 32. Hear me out. Caleb Williams at 32. Just go ahead and just double down. Just trade him for a haul.
Well,
makes a lot of sense.
I mean, Mahomes is getting a little older. He is starting to get a little bit longer in the tooth. So do you then just trade Mahomes and draft Caleb Williams? I mean, he is expected to be the next Mahomes, right?
We already have Carson Wentz. So
that's a great point.
Yeah,
the first Mahomes. Yeah,
that room cannot be that loaded.
Can't have all 3 of those guys, especially when you've already got Oladokin. I mean, come on, man. What more do you need? 913-381-0810. It is Sports or Leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. Let's go to Lindsay next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sports or Leisure, Lindsay, what side do you want to start with?
Oh, I want to sing Sterling a song for his birthday, I believe.
How about that?
Oh, my gosh.
He's
Lindsay,
the piano man.
You are a sweetheart. Thank you so much. Do you want, well, I guess you're getting classic rock. I'll give you a couple options. Do you want AC/DC, Alice Cooper, or Rush?
AC/DC, please.
How about that?
Good call. This is the easiest one. Good call, Lindsay. She was a fast machine. She kept her motor clean. She was the best damn woman that I ever seen. She had the sightless eyes, telling me no lies, knocking me out with those what? What was she knocking you out with?
European legs.
Those American thighs,
Oh.
boy.
Yeah, baby.
Sorry.
Yeah, she was.
I was afraid I ruined it. Well done. On to the leisure side, or the sports side, sir. We got NFL draft, we got Chiefs draft, and we have local college draft picks. KU, K-State, Mizzou.
Give me a little NFL draft.
All right, general NFL draft for you. All right, we answered that one there. Let's go with this one. Marvin Harrison Jr. will become the 5th son of an NFL Hall of Famer to be drafted in the first round. Name 2 other sons. 2 of the other 4 sons that were drafted in the first round whose fathers are NFL Hall of Famers. Now, I'll give you a hint. You could go to one Thanksgiving and find both answers. You also might want to go to maybe a prison and find another answer.
Oh, wow. Good call, actually. Yeah. You nailed that one.
Is one of them Chris Long?
One of them is Chris Long.
Ooh. All right. What prison do I need to go to figure out the other one?
Well, you also may not need to leave that Thanksgiving table to find the other one either.
Oh, God. What's his brother's name? Kyle?
Yeah, there you go. Nice job, Kyle and Chris Long. The other two were Kellen Winslow Jr.
Yeah.
and Jake Matthews, son of Bruce Matthews. Bruce Matthews. So nice job, Kyle and Chris Long. And now throw in Marvin Harrison Jr. to that group tonight when he is drafted. That's a winner, Lindsay. We'll put you on hold, get your information. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Super duper.
All right, let's bring in Jeff here, 913-381-810. Jeff, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Sports, please.
Yes, sir. What category are you thinking?
Chiefs draft, the second round question.
Yes, absolutely. So the Chiefs have traded out of the first round only twice in their history. They had a first-round draft pick that year and traded out of the first round. Name either of the players that they took in the second round, which was their first pick of that particular draft.
Chris Jones.
Correct. Chris Jones in 2016. They traded out of the first round because they wanted, unanswered prayers. They wanted Paxton Lynch, but the Denver Broncos were so smart and sneaky. They traded ahead of the Chiefs and got Paxton Lynch, so the Chiefs said, well, let's trade back and we'll take this Chris Jones fella. The other one was Junior Seavey in 2004. They traded back in 2004 and drafted Junior Seavey. You win some, you lose some. They definitely got the one with Chris Jones. Right. Over to leisure, Jeff, with Sterling.
Do you want to sing me a song? You're the piano man, which is finish the lyric, or do you want a birthday edition question?
Let's go with a birthday edition question.
All right. We'll go with who sang you the hit song Happy Birthday to You to President John F. Kennedy on his 45th birthday in 1962? Who sang Happy Birthday to You to JFK, Mr. President?
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, nice job. There you go.
Nailed it, yeah.
Well, you know.
As
nice
a kid,
job.
I learned that from Wayne's World.
Yes. I think I did, too. Most people learn their American cultural history from Wayne's World. Jeff, we'll put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations, sir. Well done.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely. Happy birthday. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will wrap up the show, and we will give our predictions of who the Chiefs draft tonight. I know people have been waiting with bated breath. Who does Sterling think the Chiefs are going to take? What about Jason? What about Dylan? Need to know. We'll find out next. All right, wrapping things up here on Sports Radio 810 WHB in the Zone. Sterling Holmes is hanging out at Hollywood Casino, Kansas Speedway.
Yeah, baby.
Draft coverage throughout the day brought to you by Hollywood Casino, Greenlight Dispensary, and Twin Peaks. Chiefs with the 32nd pick in the NFL draft tonight. All right, let's go around the room / show since you're at Hollywood Casino. Yeah, let's go around 435. Let's go around the legends and just ask random people what they think about the Chiefs draft, who they take.
I can ask everyone in the sports book right now. I mean, it's going to take us a while. It's starting to fill up, so I can ask some people. Hey, but we're going to have to cut into the program.
If you were down in a different state, I would just have you take off your headset and go, "The stars at night are big and bright," and see if anybody answers, sort of like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but that's fine. So anyway, let's go around the room. Who wants to go first? Anybody? Doesn't matter. Sterling, Dylan, myself. I'll go first. At pick 32, I do think the Chiefs try to trade up and get a tackle tonight. I think they are trying to answer / solve their issue there. Brett Veach has done a pretty good job of when there is an issue or a hole or something that is lacking or less than stellar, he's pretty aggressive at doing that. And Orlando Brown and Joe Thuney drafting Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, and we've seen him do that on the defensive side, etc. I thought maybe they're going to do that with wide receiver. Signing Hollywood Brown helps. The depth of the wide receiving group this year certainly helps. I think they will try to trade up and get a tackle. So I'm going to say if they trade up, they get Mims. If they pick at 32, they draft Kingsley Suamataia. So I know I gave 2 there, so maybe that's cheating. But that's just how I'm feeling going into it. So a trade up, they get Mims, and it doesn't mean they trade up to like 15 or whatever. Picking at 32, they get Kingsley. Sterling, Drew, Dylan, Drew, I don't know. Drew, you want to go? I'm not sure who Drew is, but Dylan?
Mine's easy. It's the same as yours. So,
oh, really? Trade up, they get Mims?
Yep.
Okay, very good.
I don't think they can get up high enough to our scenario where they get Olu, but they can get – I think they can get Mims. I think that the medicals and the fact that we'll be switching him hopefully to left, we'll hopefully drop him a little bit, and run on quarterbacks as well.
Okay. Sterling, what are you thinking?
So someone saw Peter Schrager's final mock draft, huh, boys? No?
What did I think he had at 19 for Mims, right?
Yeah, it was traded for Mims.
Yeah.
There's so many mock drafts that came out today. Everybody's final mock draft came out today.
His always seems to be the most accurate and the latest.
Yeah. I think it's the smartest way to go, but I'll not be smart. And you know how February was the obvious answer, and we went with like August? I'm going to do the same thing here. I think trading up for Mims is the obvious answer, but I want to be different. No group think here, Jason.
Oh.
Give me Ladd McConkey at 32.
Ladd McConkey.
I like the floor. I think the ceiling's higher than people think. He's not just a slot. He's an outside receiver, too. I think Ladd McConkey is the pick for the Chiefs at 32.
Hey, if look, at 32, if they end up getting Ladd McConkey, I'm good with it, man. There are a number of receivers that I like in this draft. Ladd McConkey is one of them. I like Xavier Worthy maybe a little bit more than some people do because they think he's just fast. I think Xavier.
The wrong Xavier, Jason. That's the wrong Xavier.
Well, Xavier Legette, people like. I'm just saying. I don't know. Is Xavier Legette more of a lightning rod? I don't know because of the production only 1 year, but Xavier Worthy's a really good route runner and can track the football and is really fast as well. So if he's there at 32, I'd be perfectly fine taking him. But now all of a sudden, Xavier Worthy, where he's going to be drafted, the now favorite, the team that is expected to be the favorite to draft Xavier Worthy is the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis has 1 pick at number 15 in the first round. They don't have like a pick at 15 and then a pick like in the mid-20s. They have the 15th pick in the draft, and Xavier Worthy, the now leader in Vegas of where he goes in the draft, is Indianapolis. That would be a meteoric rise. That would be as fast of a rise as his 40 time was. From is he a first round pick to he's the 4th receiver off the board and he went number 15 overall. The second betting favorite is Miami at 21 for Xavier Worthy. So we'll see.
Who falls, Jason? Who falls? Who's the Will Levis?
Oh man, Penix. Penix is the Will Levis, and maybe it results in the Chiefs being able to trade out. I know that is not the ideal scenario for a lot of people. I'm perfectly fine if they don't draft somebody tonight. but I think they'll take Kingsley. It's an offensive tackle. It's all the measurables, and it's BYU, Sterling. Oh, sounds so good. Happy birthday, bud.